Chapter 886 How dare you trick me for? At this very moment, Yi was bearing in extreme pain, and did not have the energy to bother with Yi Qingtang's arrival. You tampered with the dragon bone and phoenix feather. Yi glared at Ling Yan with gritted teeth. However, Ling Yan shook his head with a smile. Given your cultivation realm, with one look, you would be able to tell if I really had tampered with the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix. Yi did not retort to whatever Ling Yan said, as it was indeed so. If the two treasures were really tampered with, it was impossible for her to not be able to see it given her skills. But if they were not tampered with, what was it then? Miss, you're unaware that in the war between the true dragon, divine phoenix, and the heavenly demon back then, all three parties harbored a grudge. The true dragon and divine phoenix were originally in love, but were hunted down for their lives by the heavenly demon. Since you obtained the inheritance of the heavenly demon, there is the aura of the heavenly demon on your body. The bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix are mortal enemies with it. How would they spare you? Ling Yan smiled. After hearing Ling Yan's explanation, Yi lifted an arm with difficulty and pointed at Ling Yan. You schemed against me. Schemed against you? Ling Yan had a baffled expression. What do you mean by that, miss? It's you who wanted to snatch my bone of the true dragon, and then snatch my feather of the divine phoenix. I did not ask you to snatch them. Ling Yan spoke slowly. Yi Qingtang looked gazed at Ling Yan. Although she did know what happened, Ling Yan definitely schemed against Yi. These two items are divine items. Your body is now covered with the frost of the true dragon and the flame of the divine phoenix. If you're unwilling to give up the inheritance of the heavenly demon, you will definitely die today. Ling Yan added on smilingly. Do you wish to live or die? Yi clenched her fists tightly. This person actually returned what she said to herself. Currently, Yi was aware of how frightening the frost of the true dragon and the flame of the divine phoenix were. If she did not give up the inheritance of the heavenly demon as he said, she would lose her life today. To protect her life, Yi did not have any other option, and could only spit out a pitch-black pearl. A demon aura lingered around that black pearl, and that was the essence which condensed after the heavenly demon died. In order to locate the inheritance of the heavenly demon, she exhausted countless Dharma treasures which her grandfather gave her, and she almost lost her life to obtain the inheritance. Yet, she became a cat's paw for someone else now. You still need to leave the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix behind in order for the misery to dissipate. Ling Yan reminded with a smile. Almost without hesitation, Yi threw the two treasures on the ground according to Ling Yan. At this instant, Ling Yan raised his hand and took away the heavenly demon pearl, bone of the true dragon, and feather of the divine phoenix. A few breaths later, the frost and flame on Yi's body finally faded gradually. Yi panted heavily. Her expression was extremely dark. Yi Qingtang, it's you who schemed against me with him. Yi said coldly after seeing Yi Qingtang, who was beside Ling Yan. I am not involved in scheming against you. However, it's time we settled our enmity today. As Yi Qingtang spoke, she unsheathed her sword sharply. Yi was heavily injured presently, and Yi Qingtang would not pass this chance. However, before Yi Qingtang could strike, Ling Yan grabbed her hand and pulled her back. Taking this chance, Yi used whatever last energy she had and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 887 How to Thank Seeing that Yi fled away. Yi Qingtang wanted to chase after her, but Ling Yan grabbed Yi Qingtang's hand firmly and did not give her the chance to go after Yi. Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang's brows were tightly furrowed immediately. Have you held enough? If you don't mind, I can hold on a little longer. Ling Yan chuckled. Yi Qingtang was speechless for a moment. This Ling Yan's brain has issues, doesn't it? What the hell is he saying? Seeing that Yi Qingtang was about to flare up, Ling Yan released his grip sensibly. In the next second, Yi Qingtang rushed out of the cave, but Yi had already vanished without a trace. In no time, Yi Qingtang returned to the cave again and looked at Ling Yan. She and I have a blood feud. Ling Yan smiled in response. Miss Yi, I am not clear about that. How about you tell me about it? Do you wish to hear? Yi Qingtang fixed her eyes on Ling Yan. Ling Yan replied, I am extremely interested in everything about you. If you don't mind, you can tell me about all major and trivial matters. Why is this person? However, Yi Qingtang recounted her grudge with Yi Yu to Ling Yan thoroughly. After hearing about the relationship and enmity between the two, Ling Yan laughed and told Yi Qingtang, Miss Yi, in this case, you need to be responsible for me. Both of you share the same surname Yi, and I was almost killed by her. For a moment, Yi Qingtang did not have any words to reply. When did Ling Yan's skin become so thick? Since she almost killed you, you can find her and ask her to be responsible. It so happens that you let her go too, Yi Qingtang said. However, Ling Yan shook his head. How can she be compared to you, Miss Yi? Not waiting for Yi Qingtang to reply, Ling Yan laughed and said, Forget it. Even if you have a huge grudge against her, it is not a wise action to attack her now. Oh. Yi Qingtang examined Ling Yan. Why? This person is the granddaughter of the Jiang clan's grand elder, Jiang Duantian. Jiang Duantian is the current domain monarch and has many means. From my observation, if a murderous intent arose within you just now and you attacked her, you would definitely be counter-damaged by the Dharma treasure. Not only would she not die, but you would also be in an extremely dangerous situation instead. Ling Yan explained, Are you saying that Yi Yu has a life-protecting Dharma treasure on her? Yi Qingtang clarified, That's exactly what I'm saying. Ling Yan nodded and added on, The Dharma treasure on Yi Yu could even withstand a fatal blow from a divine arcane supremacy, and the counter-damage ability of the Dharma treasure could easily crush an ordinary arcane supremacy. If I did not stop you, I'm afraid you. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply after hearing Ling Yan. This was her miscalculation. She clearly knew that Yi Yu was already found by the Jiang clan. Now that she was sent to the dangerous dragon vein, how would there not be any life-protecting means? However, Yi Qingtang saw that Ling Yan schemed against Yi Yu previously. It seemed that with Ling Yan here, she actually lowered her guard a little. Thank you. A long while later, Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan and thanked him. There is still another way of thanking me. I have never liked verbal thank yous. Ling Yan looked at Yi Qingtang with a meaningful smile. Yi Qingtang's expression changed immediately. What cunning plot was Ling Yan thinking of exactly? Seeing that Yi Qingtang had a grim expression, Ling Yan spoke again. Forget it. If it's Miss Yi, a verbal thank you is acceptable as well. Chapter 888 A Cat's Paw for Others. Yi Qingtang could not be bothered to talk any more nonsense with Ling Yan, but she was curious about what exactly happened between Ling Yan and Yi Yu. Why would that Yi Yu was schemed against by Ling Yan out of nowhere? Earlier on, Yi Qingtang clearly heard that it was Yi Yu who came to snatch his treasure. You and Yi Yu? Curiosity filled Yi Qingtang's face. Do you wish to know, Miss Yi? With a smile, Ling Yan sat on the ground cross-legged and glanced at the empty space in front of him. Then, Yi Qingtang walked to Ling Yan's side and sat on the ground as well. You should know that there are 3 great inheritances in this dragon vein. Apart from the inheritances of the true dragon and divine phoenix, there's also the inheritance of the heavenly demon. Ling Yan explained slowly. I am already aware of this, Yi Qingtang said. Ling Yan nodded. The inheritances of the true dragon and divine phoenix require the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix, while the inheritance of the heavenly demon can only be sensed by a bloodline of the Jiang clan. You are saying that? Yi Qingtang seemed to be in thought. The Jiang clan is the descendant of the heavenly demon, and they possess the heavenly demon bloodline. As such, they can sense the inheritance of the heavenly demon. Ling Yan continued. After hearing Ling Yan, Yi Qingtang suddenly recalled that Yi Yu indeed possessed the heavenly demon bloodline back then. Otherwise, how else could she climb up to the position of a paragon great empress so easily? Since the Jiang family possessed the heavenly demon bloodline, someone will definitely head here to search for the inheritance of the heavenly demon. If I wish to obtain the inheritance of the heavenly demon, I would require a member from the Jiang clan, Ling Yan said. Yi Qingtang was a little confused. How do you know that the person coming to snatch your dragon bone and phoenix feather will definitely be from the Jiang family? This kind of treasure should be wanted by everyone. Ling Yin chuckled lightly. Because I have the dragon bone. The true dragon and divine phoenix warred against the heavenly demon and bore a deep grudge. If any of its descendants are in the vicinity, the dragon bone would react. Of course, if the incomer is not a descendant of the heavenly demon, I have a way of dealing with it. But it was Yu, so you did not need to use that method, Yi Qingtang said. That's right. Ling Yin smiled. However, that Yu wanted to have all 3 inheritances for herself. I gave her the dragon bone, but she was not content, and had to hide in the dark and follow me to find the phoenix feather. How do you know that Yu had already retrieved the inheritance of the heavenly demon then? Yi Qingtang questioned again. Ling Yin gently shook the blue stone in his hand. This dragon bone can sense it as well. So that's why, Yi Qingtang mumbled to herself. The dragon bone and the phoenix feather were gathered, and the possessor also obtained the inheritance of the heavenly demon. As such, the grudge of the 2 divine items was aroused. You only needed to guide Yu to spit out the inheritance of the heavenly demon from a side. Ling Yin, that's really a good scheme. However, if Yu was not so greedy and suspicious, and left to search for the inheritance of the true dragon after obtaining your dragon bone, Yi Qingtang voiced her confusion. However, Ling Yin smiled faintly upon hearing Yi Qingtang. If that's the case, it wouldn't be bad either. Yu possesses the inheritance and bloodline of the heavenly demon. With the dragon bone, it would be much simpler for her to obtain the inheritance of the true dragon than we can. We can then let her clear all the threats in the inheritance of the true dragon, and be a cat's paw for us again. Isn't that very good? A moment later, Yi Qingtang could not help but study Ling Yin. This man was really... Everything went according to his calculations. Ever since Yu appeared and had the greed of snatching the dragon bone, she had already fallen into Ling Yan's trap. No matter whether Yu took the dragon bone and left in search of the inheritance of the dragon bone, or secretly tailed Ling Yan to obtain the phoenix feather, her outcome was already determined. Regardless of what Yu did, she was a cat's paw for Ling Yan. No matter what this man did, it was all done with full preparations and numerous schemes. However, Yi Qingtang never thought that Ling Yan would tell herself about all of his plans. Chapter 889. For Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan. Although this man did not have any martial skills, and it looked like he could be easily crushed by any powerful martial figures, the truth was not so. He was an extremely dangerous presence. It was still alright if he was a friend, but once he was an enemy and he schemed against you, you would probably be hit by a destructive strike. Ling Yan, why would you tell me all of your plans? Looking at Ling Yan in confusion, Yi Qingtang asked curiously. Ling Yan was stunned to hear her question and smiled faintly. Didn't you ask me just now? So, I asked you, and you told me just like that? Yi Qingtang had a strange expression. Ling Yan shook his head with a chuckle. If others asked me, I wouldn't say a word, but it is different if it's Miss Yi. Me? Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan and asked. How am I different? You are different in my heart. The corner of his lips tugged up as he looked at Yi Qingtang with eyes filled with temptation and danger. She totally could not understand what crazy things Ling Yan was sputtering. In Yi Qingtang's previous life, she spent almost her entire life being chased by others. She was extremely vigilant of the outside world every second, and the only thing she had in mind was martial cultivation. It was no exaggeration to call her a martial fanatic. This was so as only by becoming more powerful could she barely survive the schemes from the outside world. She seemed to have seen such a look from Ling Yan on other men, but his was a little different. Even Yi Qingtang was unaware of why she did not loathe nor shun from him extremely. Nonetheless, even up to this day, Yi Qingtang still could not comprehend what this exactly meant. If others looked at her like that, there would be a danger signal going off inside her. However, Ling Yan did not give her such feelings. For you. As he spoke, Ling Yan flipped his hand over and extended his right palm towards Yi Qingtang, and he handed the heavenly demon pearl, which Yi spat out earlier, to Yi Qingtang. Noticing the situation, Yi Qingtang was filled with surprise and was even in disbelief. The heavenly demon pearl was one of the 3 great inheritances in the dragon vein, and many cultivators even lost their lives for it. One could imagine how precious this was. However, even so, at this very instant, Ling Yan wanted to give her the inheritance of the heavenly demon he schemed out from Yi. Almost instinctively, Yi Qingtang immediately shook her head. The inheritance of the heavenly demon was too valuable, and she must not accept it. Ling Yan chuckled lightly when he saw Yi Qingtang's reaction. Miss Yi, this heavenly demon pearl originally belongs to Yi. I only used a small scheme and took it from her. Moreover, Yi once stole your spirit root. Thus, the inheritance of the heavenly demon is equivalent to Yi's interest to you. It is yours since you stole it. How could I accept it? Yi Qingtang asked with a frown. Oh. After hearing what Yi Qingtang said, Ling Yan's lips tugged up slightly. So according to your logic, Yi stole your spirit root, so it should belong to Yi now. Yi Qingtang had no words to refute this one sentence from Ling Yan. For some reason though, Yi Qingtang had never lost almost any arguments in both her lives. But after meeting Ling Yan, she would always unknowingly be beaten to it every time she spoke to him. Chapter 890 Devote Your Life to Me. Yi stole Miss Ye's spirit root. But that spirit root does not belong to Yi. I stole Yi's heavenly demon pearl, and it should not belong to me either. No matter what, it is the equivalent of this heavenly demon pearl being Yi's interest to Miss Yi. A faint smile hung on Ling Yan's lips. Before Yi Qingtang could say anything, Ling Yan grabbed her hand lightly and placed the heavenly demon pearl in her palm, before giving her any time to react. This heavenly demon pearl should belong to you. There's no need to decline. Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan astonished. Although Ling Yan put it that way, it was clear that whatever reasoning he gave was fallacious. Yi Qingtang was not foolish, and could tell that Ling Yan merely wanted to give her the heavenly demon pearl. Ling Yan, the heavenly demon pearl is really too valuable. There's nothing between us. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply. Since that's the case, do you want to have something with me? Ling Yan's eyes were extremely bright and filled with charm as he looked at Yi Qingtang. What thing? Yi Qingtang asked instinctively. However, Ling Yan inched closer the moment she spoke, and their eyes locked onto each other. There was less than an inch between them, and they could even feel each other's heartbeat and breathing. Yi Qingtang swore that she had never been so close to a man in either of her lives before. Just like that, the two of them looked at each other for a long time. Suddenly, Ling Yan stood up straight and pulled a distance away from Yi Qingtang. Let's put it this way then. My martial skills are so terrible, and I can lose my life anytime. How about you stay by my side from now on? You want me to be your personal bodyguard? Yi Qingtang asked. Ling Yan shook his head immediately. Apart from a personal bodyguard, there's another possibility between a male and a female. Without giving Yi Qingtang a chance to speak, Ling Yan suddenly stood up and said, Miss Yi, you do not need to be so conflicted. The heavenly demon pearl is useless to me, and is compatible with you instead. If you don't want it, you can settle it yourself. I just do not wish for this inheritance to land in the hands of one of the people of the Jiang bloodline. If you view me as a friend, you can accept it without worrying. Otherwise, you can settle it yourself. Destroying or throwing it away is all fine. How generous of you. Yi Qingtang could not help but take a few looks at Ling Yan. Back then, she had the heart of the demon god, and was being chased for her life for hundreds of years. Everyone coveted the heart of the demon god in her body, and plotted all sorts of schemes. Others wanted to take her life in order to seize a precious treasure. But Ling Yan willingly gave the inheritance of the heavenly demon, a valuable treasure, to herself so easily. Thank you. A long while later, Yi Qingtang said, I am unable to return your huge favor. Unable to return my huge favor. Ling Yan walked to Yi Qingtang's side and slowly bent forward. The corner of his lips curled up slightly and formed a devilish charm. Since you are unable to return the favor, you can devote your life to me then. A few breaths later, Yi Qingtang finally returned to her senses and said, Devote my life to you? Ling Yan chuckled. How does devoting your life to me sound? You're saying. Yi Qingtang pondered deeply and said, For me to be your guard and protect your safety for my entire life? With a smile on his face, Ling Yan responded, If that is how you comprehend the meaning of devoting your life to me, so be it then. For Yi Qingtang, who was a complete blockhead at male-female relationships, how could she understand the meaning of devoting your life to me? Chapter 891 The Guide Sponsored Content The little white tiger probed its head and extended its ears outside the cave to look over into the cave. After a short while, the little azure dragon swaggered over and touched the little white tiger's head with its paw. Such a pity that you followed an idiot. Upon hearing the little azure dragon's words, the little white tiger turned back and stared at the little azure dragon. Fuck you, thank you for pitying me, but I also pity that you followed a useless person. The little white tiger sneered. Are you not convinced? I understand what does it mean by the promise of marriage, but she doesn't. Isn't she an idiot? The little azure dragon smiled and said, Pfft, you don't understand anything. She pretends that she does not understand the meaning, so that others will feel anxious. This is called emotional intelligence, the little white tiger said. Sponsored content The little azure dragon's lips twitched upon hearing that. It finally understood the ability of saying nonsense from the little white tiger. Look at how ugly you are. No female dragon will fall in love with you. Stop trying to figure out what love is. You will never need it in your life. The little white tiger sat on the ground and stared at the little azure dragon and said, How dare you? I'm the top of the 4 fiend celestial beasts. How dare you humiliate me? The little azure dragon humphed. Pfft. The azure dragons are just slightly smarter. We are the best in fighting ability. The little white tiger said proudly. Yes, you are a brainless idiot, the little azure dragon said. You. The little white tiger wanted to scold back, but it realized that it was a total waste of time to quarrel with the azure dragon. Yeah, do you think your master really likes my master? The little white tiger asked. Sponsored content The little azure dragon looked at the little white tiger as if it was staring at an idiot. Based on Ling Yan's personality, how could he say something like marriage if he did not like her? But I'm curious, do you think that Han Songming likes her? Han Songming? He's very peculiar. He can only act according to his instincts and act with strong intentions. He stays beside Yi Qingtang in order to acquire the heart of the demon god. I always feel that he can do anything to retrieve the heart, even if it will cost Yi Qingtang's life. The little white tiger scoffed. The little azure dragon scoffed as well as it heard the little white tiger's words. Of course it's like that. Han Songming did not have a soul or mind or feelings. He was only Ling Yan's body that acted based on his instincts. As a body, instinct could drive him to do anything. He could use all means to achieve his goal. Sponsored content However, the little azure dragon was curious about one thing. The body should have just retrieved the heart of the demon god from Yi Qingtang based on its instincts. He would not care about her death at all. Yet Yi Qingtang was still alive now. Did anything happen to Yi Qingtang's heart? The little azure dragon looked at the little white tiger and asked. Yes, a life emerged out of the heart and wanted the two of them to be married, the little white tiger said. No wonder the guide. I think it's the guide's credit that Yi Qingtang's heart was not taken away by him. That's why she's alive now. The little azure dragon smiled coldly. You know about the guide? Who told you about that? The little white tiger was shocked. I inferred that by myself, the little azure dragon said. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 892 The Conspiracy. I have to say that though you are arrogant, you're really intelligent. The little white tiger was shocked. Everything that it knew was heard from the elder, but the little azure dragon inferred everything on its own. In this world, only people like Ling Yan could really tame an azure dragon. So it's real that Han Songming is just a body. The little white tiger looked at the little azure dragon meaningfully. I'm quite sure about that. The little azure dragon nodded. Then maybe I can understand now. The little white tiger's face was very serious. If the Han Songming now was just a body, he would not possess any feelings. However, Han Songming treated Yi Qingtang nicely, so the only possibility was that the power of karma was left on Yi Qingtang's body by Ling Yan. Han Songming, as part of Ling Yan, was able to sense the power. Since Han Songming was part of Ling Yan, after sensing the power of karma, he would not do anything to harm her based on his instincts. It was the right thing for him to treat Yi Qingtang nicely. Ling Yan, even such things are part of your plan? The little white tiger looked over into the cave and murmured. However, the little azure dragon was concerned about Ling Yan's safety. The guide's mission was to unite Yi Qingtang and the Han Songming now. However, from one perspective, Ling Yan's plan was very successful. He tricked destiny, and even the guide could not recognize that Ling Yan was the real demon god. Han Songming, the guide's mission was to let Yi Qingtang and the demon god go through the death calamity. However, Ling Yan was the real demon god now. If Yi Qingtang and Han Songming got married, Yi Qingtang would be the only one who would go through the death calamity. She would experience millions of strikes until death. Can you infer the cause of the calamity since you're so smart? The little white tiger looked at the azure dragon and asked. The little azure dragon scoffed. Of course, they inherited the calamity from the heavenly emperor. Oh, explain, the little white tiger said. Actually, you should know that Yi Qingtang's heart is not the heart of the demon god. Ling Yan pulled his soul and heart out from his body and was reborn. The heart is in Ling Yan's body now. The little azure dragon explained. Yes, I know about that. The heart in Yi Qingtang seems to be a death calamity that is related to the heavenly Tao and destiny, the little white tiger said. The little azure dragon nodded and said, actually, it's very simple. When Ling Yan was reborn with his soul and heart, the body was heartless. However, someone put a heart into the body, and it is thought that that was his own heart. For some unknown reason, the heart went into Yi Qingtang's body, and the body thought that Yi Qingtang took away his heart. So, the heart is the biggest conspiracy and the death calamity. That's right. Even Yi Qingtang thinks that her heart is the heart of the demon god. However, she doesn't know that the heart has nothing to do with the demon god. Everything is just part of a huge conspiracy. The person behind all of this may be the culprit who destroyed the fourth domain. The little white tiger said seriously. Chapter 893, The Heart of the Heavenly Tao. What did you know from the elder? The little azure dragon looked at the little white tiger and asked. The little white tiger contemplated for a while and said, in the primordial mortal world, there was a genius who was born in the first domain. The genius became the ultimate powerful person that no one could compare with. By coincidence, the heavenly Tao decided to find the new inheritor and pass on the inheritance of the heavenly Tao. I suppose that the genius successfully inherited that and became the new heavenly Tao. However, the inheritance of the heavenly Tao he got was not complete, and he came out with a strategy. He took out the heart of the heavenly Tao and tried to find a suitable body to nurture the heart. The heavenly emperor was the first body, and the demon god Han Songming was the second. The little azure dragon smiled and said, however, based on Han Kangming's intelligence, he predicted that he would be the next body to nurture the heart through the interaction with the heavenly emperor. Thus, he left his body and became Ling Yan. That's right. The body had become the vessel for the heart of the heavenly Tao long ago. The body does not have a soul or mind, and it instinctively treats the heart of the heavenly Tao as his own heart. The little white tiger nodded and said, so Yi Qingtang is the third body for the heart of the heavenly Tao. The little azure dragon murmured, it should be the situation now. The guide is the consciousness of the heart of the heavenly Tao. It intends to unite the new body with the second body. The demon god will then facilitate Yi Qingtang till she's powerful enough to nurture the heart of the heavenly Tao. When she's powerful enough, the person behind will then kill her and take back the heart of the heavenly Tao. The little azure dragon's eyes sparkled. I'm afraid so. And this is the reason why I totally oppose the guide and oppose Yi Qingtang to unite with that body. However, I cannot tell her directly. The little white tiger nodded continuously and said, you're afraid that it will make the situation worse. The little azure dragon said, yes, if the situation gets worse, the consequences will be unimaginable. It will be a death calamity that she cannot escape from. She has to discover that by herself. Furthermore, our assumptions may not be completely right, the little white tiger said. Bullshit. That's my assumption. You heard that from someone else. The little azure dragon stared at the little white tiger and said, fuck you. I don't even need to use my brain. Someone will tell me everything, the little white tiger said arrogantly. Then let me ask you, what's the identity of the elder who told you everything? The little azure dragon asked. I'm not sure as well. I asked him before, but he said that it's a secret that could not be revealed. The little white tiger contemplated for a while and said, Then I'm curious, why would he just tell you about all these things? What are his intentions? The little azure dragon paused and then asked, No, it's impossible. I have known him for a long time. If he really had any intention, why would he even bother to tell me about all of this? Furthermore, he's very powerful. If he wanted to kill us, he doesn't need to plan anything. The little white tiger was very certain. That makes sense as well, the little azure dragon said. Oh right, doesn't Ling Yin want to take back the power from the body? The little white tiger was slightly curious. He will never do that. He refuses to admit his identity. Furthermore, if he takes back his power, the death calamity will definitely notice that. That's why he left his body in order to trick everyone. It's the demon god's style to hide in the dark and plan everything. The little azure dragon sighed and said, Chapter 894 The beginning of the inheritance. At the same time in the cave, Ling Yen stood up slowly. He crushed the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix under Yi Qingtang's surprised gaze. Ling Yen, do you want everyone to know about where the inheritance of the true dragon and the divine phoenix are? Yi Qingtang asked. Smart. The paths to the inheritance of the divine phoenix and the true dragon are extremely dangerous. We should let the others clear the obstacles for us. Ling Yen turned around and smiled. Why are you so confident that you can get the inheritance of the divine phoenix and the true dragon? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly and said, Where did his confidence come from? I only want the inheritance of the true dragon. As for the inheritance of the divine phoenix, that will be the second gift for you. Ling Yen smiled and said, Why are you so kind to me? Yi Qingtang asked directly, Aren't you comfortable with it? You will get used to it soon. Ling Yen chuckled and gently touched Yi Qingtang's glabella using his finger. I'm not confident that I will be able to get the inheritance of the divine phoenix. Yi Qingtang contemplated for a while and said, People who were able to fight for the inheritance of the divine phoenix at the Dragon Vein were all the most powerful people from the central mainland. They might risk their lives to fight for the inheritance of the divine phoenix. She had nothing to fight against those supremacy-level people. Don't worry about that, Miss Yi. I'm confident with everything I plan, Ling Yin said softly. Why are you confident when I'm not even confident with myself? Yi Qingtang felt odd and said, Of course, both the inheritance of the true dragon and the divine phoenix are not comparable with normal inheritances. For example, the inheritance of the heavenly demon. If Yi Yu did not have the bloodline of the heavenly demon, it'd be impossible for her to get that. It's the same for the other inheritances. The inheritances will choose their heir. Ling Yin nodded and said, You're saying that the inheritance of the divine phoenix will definitely choose me. Yi Qingtang understood what Ling Yin meant. I think the flame that you used to burn the diamond boulder is not something ordinary. Ling Yin smiled and said. Yi Qingtang understood what he was referring to instantly. Her paragon skill was related to the phoenix. The inheritance of the divine phoenix might choose her due to her paragon skill. After Ling Yin crushed the bone of the true dragon and the feather of the divine phoenix, the wintry Yin aura and the wintry Yang aura spread out in all directions. Soon the powerful people from the central mainland all rushed to different directions. Miss Yi, we shall head to our own destinations. Please take care. Ling Yin folded his hands at the back after he finished his words. He walked out of the cave and headed towards the inheritance of the true dragon with the little azure dragon. Yi Qingtang headed towards the inheritance of the divine phoenix with the little white tiger. The place they were at was the deepest place of the Dragon Vein. Even the Peerless School and the Phantom Valley had not explored this place yet. The three finest forces had no knowledge about the deep part of the Dragon Vein. Somewhere in the forest after 2 days, fighting sounds and roars were heard from the place ahead. Yi Qingtang walked towards the origin of the sounds with the little white tiger. A few thousand meters away at the same time, Gu Tianhe and Feng Wudong stared at a young man in rage. The young man was slightly overweight. His martial ability was at the fourth heaven of the yin-yang perfected lord level. His face was filled with a cold smile. Feng Wuya, how dare you? How dare you to treat junior sisterly like that? Feng Wudong held his fists tightly and shouted in anger. Chapter 895 Take Advantage of Others 1. The man who was called Feng Wuya produced a fake smile and said, "That's her blessing." Feng Wuya. Gu Tianhe clenched his teeth and stared at Feng Wuya in rage. How he wished that he could tear him to pieces right now. Li Bingxue was on the same mission as them. And later, they encountered others from the Supreme Academy. Soon afterward, Li Bingxue left the group for some personal things. However, no one expected that she would meet Feng Wuya of the Divine Virtual Academy halfway. Feng Wuya was not just a normal disciple of the Divine Virtual Academy. He was the grandson of the Grand Elder, who belonged to the reclusive ancient Feng clan of the Central Mainland. The ancient Feng clan was highly ranked in the Central Mainland. Very few forces in the entire Central Mainland dared to provoke them, not mentioning the mediocre students of the Normal Academy. Among the reclusive clans, there were at least a few heavenly venerates that were above the arcane supremacy to preside over the clans. Their martial abilities were unpredictable. As the grandson of the Grand Elder, Feng Wuya's position in the ancient Feng clan was easy to predict. He was not willing to learn anything, but he was very arrogant and abusive in the Divine Virtual Academy due to his identity. No one dared to say anything to him. Gu Tianhe would never talk to such an arrogant heir under normal circumstances. However, no one expected that Li Bingxue would encounter Feng Wuya on her way. What was even more unimaginable that Feng Wuya had a wicked idea after noticing Li Bingxue's beauty. He raped her under violence and murdered her ruthlessly afterward. Junior brother Gu, the first man of the Supreme Academy, shook his head seriously as he looked at Gu Tianhe. Senior brother Li Xiao, Feng Wuya is just a bastard. He raped junior sister Li and murdered her mercilessly. Feng Wuya clenched his fist and said. The veins on his forehead clearly showed his anger and resentment. Li Xiao's face was very serious, but he could not do anything if the person was just a normal disciple of the Divine Virtual Academy. They would definitely take revenge for Li Bingxue. However, Feng Wuya was not a normal person. Feng Wuya had the Feng clan's bloodline. If they hurt him today, everyone who was present would be dead in the near future. Even the entire Supreme Academy would not dare to provoke the Feng clan. They would use their lives to repay if they hurt him. They could not do anything to him. Feng Wuya sneered as he saw the reactions of the Supreme Academy students. He wandered towards Feng Wuya. Feng Wuya arrived in front of Feng Wudong in a few breaths' time. Disdain filled Feng Wuya's eyes as he raised his arm slowly. Pow! Feng Wuya raised his hand and slapped Feng Wudong's face. You! Feng Wudong glared at Feng Wuya and intended to say something. Pow! Before Feng Wudong could say another word, another slap landed on his face. Feng Wuya's face was expressionless, but his eyes were filled with scorn. How dare you clowns confront senior brother Feng here? Do you still want to be alive in this world? A few young disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy mocked the Supreme Academy disciples, who did not dare to talk or move. Chapter 896 Take Advantage of Others 2. Feng Wuya had just entered the Divine Virtual Academy, and his martial ability was still very mediocre. However, even the strongest disciples in Divine Virtual Academy did not dare to offend him, due to his identity as a member of the ancient Feng clan. Instead, they tried their best to flatter him. Feng Wuya was very lustful. He had offended most of the beautiful female students in the Divine Virtual Academy. However, no one dared to fight for themselves. There were even some female students who voluntarily looked for Feng Wuya based on his identity. The disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy were used to Feng Wuya's arrogance and aggressiveness. I'm going to kill you. Feng Wudong shouted in anger as he was slapped twice in the public by Feng Wuya. The veins on his forehead were getting more obvious. The leader of the Supreme Academy, Li Xiao, suddenly shouted, Junior brother Feng, stop. Feng Wudong's attack stopped under Li Xiao's interruption. His eyes were red, and he stared at Feng Wuya, who had nothing to be fearful of. Feng Wudong understood the consequences he would face if he hit Feng Wuya, without Li Xiu's reminder. If Feng Wuya was injured here, the ancient Feng clan would not let it go so easily. Not only him, but even Gu Tianhe and the rest of the people who were present would have to bear the consequences in the future. They would need to use their lives to repay. Little bastard, you have a death wish. Feng Wuya stared at Feng Wudong, who froze in sarcasm. He scoffed and punched Feng Wudong's face in the next second. Feng Wuya did not hold back. Blood flowed out from Feng Wudong's mouth under the punch. Feng Wudong wiped off the blood by his lips. He clenched his teeth and glared at Feng Wuya. However, he could not fight back, though the resentment in his heart was rising. Who do you think you are? Feng Wuya grabbed Feng Wudong's hair as he spoke, and dragged him away with great strength. The people of the Divine Virtual Academy were all sneering when they witnessed the scene. In the past, when the students of the two academies met, there would always be some injuries due to small conflicts. However, the situation was different now. Feng Wuya's identity was incomparable to that of normal disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy. Li Bingxue, who was stronger than Feng Wuya, could only bear with Feng Wuya's torture. In her case, Li Bingxue could not take Feng Wuya's torture eventually and slapped him. Then, she was stranded by the disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy under Feng Wuya's command. He murdered her mercilessly. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that? Feng Wuya dragged Feng Wudong's hair and pulled him to the side. He then stepped on Feng Wudong's face with his foot. Feng Wudong, look at yourself in the mirror. How dare you to be so presumptuous in front of senior brother Feng? You're seeking your own death. One of the young men of the Divine Virtual Academy scoffed and said. There were around 20 people of the Divine Virtual Academy who came to the Dragon Vein. The person in the lead was the one who spoke. He was everyone else's senior, and his martial ability was the best. However, he still had to obey Feng Wuya's commands, even when he was the one in charge. I want to chop off his ears first. Feng Wuya smiled coldly and said. The young man nodded and smiled. How merciful you are, senior brother Feng. Chapter 897 Take Advantage of Others 3. Feng Wuya pulled out a dagger by his waist. He grabbed Feng Wudong's hair and swung his dagger beside Feng Wudong's ear. Should I cut off your left ear or right ear? Feng Wuya laughed. He did not even bother with the disciples of the Supreme Academy at the side. Fine, I will chop off both of your ears as a lesson to learn for you. You should be thankful that I'm only going to cut your ears and not take your life. Feng Wuya sneered and said. Feng Wudong narrowed his eyes and clenched his fists that were by his body. A disciple of the Divine Virtual Academy laughed and said, Senior brother Feng, you are still so kind. People like him should be killed without mercy. He should bow and thank you for your mercy to spare his life today. You're taking advantage of our tolerance. One of the Supreme Academy disciples could not tolerate it anymore. He pulled out his sword and pointed at Feng Wuya. Feng Wuya, let go of senior brother Feng. Feng Wuya raised his brows slightly. His eyes were full of sarcasm, as he saw the Supreme Academy disciple pulling his sword out. Li Xiu and the rest were shocked when they saw the situation. Junior brother Luo, don't be impulsive. Feng Wuya sneered. It seems like the disciples of the Supreme Academy do not understand the rules. How dare you point a sword at me? He then scoffed and commanded, Get that bastard over here now. The Divine Virtual Academy disciples immediately rushed forward and surrounded junior brother Luo. Gu Tianhe and the rest panicked and wanted to stop them. However, what? It seems like even the ancient Feng clan are not seen as anything in the eyes of the Supreme Academy people now? Feng Wuya scoffed. Don't. Li Xiu immediately blocked Gu Tianhe and the rest. They could not offend Feng Wuya based on his identity. Normal disciples like them could not afford to provoke the ancient Feng clan. If they displeased Feng Wuya, the entire Supreme Academy would have to suffer the consequence with them. Feng Wuya sneered and looked at everything happening in front of him. He then raised his leg and kicked Feng Wudong. He walked towards junior brother Luo, who was surrounded by people of the Divine Virtual Academy, and left Feng Wudong alone. How dare you point a sword at me? Feng Wuya raised his chin arrogantly as he stared at junior brother Luo, whose face was pale. Junior brother Luo's expression froze. Feng Wuya, you should not be so reckless even if you are from the ancient Feng clan. Oh. Feng Wuya lifted his brows slightly and scoffed. Suddenly, he kicked junior brother Luo's stomach in the next instant. Junior brother Luo took a few steps back as a result of the kick. He was about to raise his sword and kill the bastard instinctively. However, before he could get close, the other disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy dashed towards him and snatched his sword away. He was then pressed onto the ground. Reckless? Yes, I'm reckless. But what can you do to me? A trace of malice appeared in Feng Wuya's eyes as junior brother Luo was restrained on the ground. He took a step forward slowly and stepped on junior brother Luo's fingers with one leg. Chapter 898 Take Advantage of Others 4. Feng Wuya used all his strength to step on junior brother Luo's fingers. And he rotated his heel. The breaking sounds of bones were heard immediately. Junior brother Luo's fingers were totally crushed under Feng Wuya's foot. Ah! A horrifying scream exploded out of his mouth as his bones were crushed. The Supreme Academy students' faces turned pale upon hearing the wretched scream. How dare you point your sword at me? Who do you think you are? Feng Wuya scoffed and took a step back. His eyes were filled with a cruel smile as he stared at the bloody hand that was stamped by him. Pull the idiot up. The disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy immediately pulled junior brother Luo up from the ground. Do you still want to be a hero? Look at yourself. How come you stopped attacking me now? A merciless smile appeared on Feng Wuya's face as junior brother Luo was pulled up from the ground. Read latest chapters at List Novel. Calm. Before junior brother Luo could say anything, Feng Wuya stabbed junior brother Luo's left shoulder with the dagger in his hand. Screams rang in the air. However, Feng Wuya's face was filled with a distorted and crazy smile. He slowly twisted the dagger in his hand. The blade that was in the wound grounded all the flesh. A large amount of blood flushed out of junior brother's wound. He twitched under the intense pain that was able to tear him apart. Feng Wuya enjoyed the pain and suffering on junior brother Luo's face. He pulled out his dagger and looked at the pale students of the Supreme Academy standing not far away. His face was full of defiance and arrogance. So pathetic. How dare you threaten me, bastard? None of your senior and junior brothers will dare to make any sound, even if I tortured you to death today. Do you believe that? Feng Wuya stared at junior brother Luo aggressively. At the next second, he stabbed the dagger into junior brother Luo's other shoulder. He twisted the dagger to increase the pain. Ah! The wretched scream pierced through everyone's ears. The students of the Supreme Academy were all pale as they witnessed junior brother Luo being tortured by Feng Wuya mercilessly. What a bastard! Gu Tian's eyes were red as he shouted in rage. He could not control himself and was about to kill Feng Wuya. However, how would Li Xiu allow him to be so reckless and impulsive? He stepped forward and stopped Gu Tianhe. Junior brother Gu. He's from the ancient Feng family clan. We can't afford to offend him. Li Xiu frowned and said. Gu Tianhe clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Feng Wuya laughed furiously upon hearing his words. He suddenly pulled out the dagger and stabbed and sliced junior brother Luo's abdomen. Junior brother Luo's abdomen was sliced open, and a large amount of blood flushed out instantly. His internal organs were also dangling outside his stomach as they flowed out together with the blood. Feng Wuya grabbed junior brother Luo's hair and forced him to turn his head to look at the students of the Supreme Academy. Watch this for yourself clearly. People from the Supreme Academy are just a group of ants under the ancient Feng family clan. What can they do to me even if I kill you now? Junior brother Luo was twitching under the pain, and his eyes were rolled back. Feng Wuya admired the moment before death arrived. A smile appeared by his lips as he placed the dagger on junior brother Luo's neck. Chapter 899 It's you whom I am hitting 3. Let him go. Feng Wudong was pinned to the ground, and in such pain that he could not move. He tried his best to clamber off the ground and stop everything. Let him go. Feng Wuya swept a glance at Feng Wudong and said smilingly, No problem. The next second, Feng Wuya struck violently with the dagger in his hand. There was a sudden squelching noise as he chopped junior brother Luo's head off in front of everyone from the Supreme Academy. A large patch of fresh blood spurted like rain from the stump of his neck. Feng Wuya flung aside the head, throwing it at the feet of the people from the Supreme Academy. Let him go. Feng Wuya flicked his hands. The disciples from the Supreme Academy all smiled cruelly, as they threw junior brother Luo's body in front of Feng Wudong. What's the matter? I always keep my word. Since I promised to let him go, I have let him go. Haha, shouldn't you thank me for my benevolence? Feng Wuya laughed wildly as he looked with mocking eyes at Feng Wudong, who had collapsed to the ground. Next, I will keep my word and cut off your ears. Look how benevolent I am. Feng Wuya walked towards Feng Wudong, his eyes filled with cruel amusement. Bastard! Gu Tianhe looked at junior brother Luo's head, which had rolled to his feet. He watched as Feng Wuya moved step by step closer to Feng Wudong. A violent rage swelled in his heart. With one move, he pushed aside Li Xiu who was blocking him, drew his sword, and charged at Feng Wuya. Junior brother Gu. Li Xiu was shocked. Although they abhorred Feng Wuya's actions, no matter how much they detested him, it was still impossible for them to fight Feng Wuya. Another one seeking death. Feng Wuya swept a cold look at the charging Gu Tianhe. I don't have time to deal with you right now. Men, capture this one. After I cut off this one's ears, I will teach him a lesson. With that, everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy blocked Gu Tian's path. No matter how powerful Gu Tianhe was, he could not overcome so many by himself. He had no chance of even getting close to Feng Wuya. In a moment, the disciples from the Divine Virtual Academy had severely injured Gu Tianhe. He was pressed to the ground, unable to move. Feng Wuya walked in front of Feng Wudong and lifted him out of the pool of blood. He raised his blood-stained dagger and patted Feng Wudong's ears. You should resign yourself to being a nobody. If you dare to offend me, even if you have 10 lives, it will not be enough for me to toy with. Feng Wuya laughed coldly. A cold gleam flashed across his eyes. The dagger in his hand suddenly pressed down, and it looked as if he was about to cut Feng Wudong's ears off. However, just as Feng Wuya struck, a figure suddenly flashed across everyone's eyes. Before they could recover their wits, the figure was already next to Feng Wuya. Before Feng Wuya could see the other person's face clearly, an enormous force suddenly arose from his stomach. Feng Wuya was instantly sent flying. The dagger in his hand clattered to the ground. All this happened so suddenly, and it was beyond anyone's expectations. Feng Wudong had thought that he would not be able to escape this disaster. He did not imagine that someone would rescue him. Chapter 900. It's you whom I am hitting. Feng Wuya was in pain. He clutched his stomach and stumbled backward while breathing heavily. Who hit me? Feng Wuya roared, and looked around with his eyes glittering with a cold light. Feng Wuya looked around him, but there was no one in sight. It was as if he was hallucinating. No one had appeared, and no one had hit him. But Feng Wuya clearly had just been viciously punched. The disciples from the Divine Virtual Academy exchanged glances. Feng Wuya was just too weak. It was normal that he had not clearly seen what had happened. However, the Divine Virtual Academy disciples had clearly seen what had happened. A beautiful girl had appeared, swiftly struck a heavy blow at Feng Wuya, and then left. But the girl had moved too quickly. With Feng Wuya's abilities, he could not clearly see what had happened. Junior brother Feng, no one hit you. You are thinking too much. The leader of the disciples from the Divine Virtual Academy hurriedly smiled and said, if he told the truth, Feng Wuya would definitely make them capture the girl. They could not defy Feng Wuya's order. But if they obeyed and sent half their forces out to look for the girl, they would be short-handed. Just now, Feng Wuya had made a show of his authority in front of everyone from the Supreme Academy, and then cruelly killed one of their people. If the Supreme Academy became enraged and flung caution aside to pit themselves against Feng Wuya, and if Feng Wuya was injured because of this, they would all be held accountable. No one hit me? Feng Wuya frowned deeply with a suspicious look. That's right, no one hit you. A few disciples of the Divine Virtual Academy nodded rapidly. Ha ha ha. But before Feng Wuya could speak again, Gu Tianhe, who was being pressed to the ground, burst out in wild laughter. He said excitedly, Feng Wuya, you're doomed. Our senior sister Yi is here. Although Feng Wuya had not seen the person clearly, Gu Tianhe had clearly seen that the figure who had flashed past was their senior sister Yi Qingtang. What are you saying? Feng Wuya walked over to Gu Tianhe and punched his face. What senior sister Yi? Where is she? Ask her to come out. At that moment, everyone from the Supreme Academy looked more and more puzzled. The disciples from Supreme Academy that had come were all present. There was no senior sister Yi. Didn't you say that no one hit me? Feng Wuya turned to look at the people from the Divine Virtual Academy. When the leader of the Divine Virtual Academy's disciples saw that he could not conceal the truth anymore, he had no choice but to tell the truth. Oh, a dazzling beauty? When he heard what the leader said, Feng Wuya's lips curved into a smile. No wonder I sensed a mesmerizing scent. If you want, come out. Feng Wuya laughed coldly and clutched Gu Tian's throat. He looked about. I'll count to 3. If you don't come out, I'll kill him. After that, I will kill one person from the Supreme Academy every 15 minutes. Gu Tianhe gritted his teeth and glared at Feng Wuya. If not for the fact that the people from the Divine Virtual Academy were restricting his movements, he would disregard his own life and fight Feng Wuya to death. 3. Feng Wuya started the countdown. 2. 1.5. 1. With that, Feng Wuya tightened his grip. He clutched Gu Tian's throat and lifted him into the air. But at that moment, a snow-white figure flew over. Chapter 901 It's You Whom I Am Hitting 3. Sponsored content before everyone returned to their senses. Boom! An eruption sounded. Subsequently, Feng Wuya was flung out like a kite with a snapped string. Ow! Feng Wuya spat a mouthful of blood in midair. Junior brother Feng. Sponsored content Noticing the situation, everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy could no longer care about Gu Tianhe and surged forward to catch Feng Wuya. I heard that you're looking for me? Standing beside Gu Tianhe, Yi Qingtang remarked flatly. Her long, jet-black hair swayed in the wind while her eyes were filled with nothing but indifference. After finishing her sentence, she looked at Feng Wuya coldly. A cold glint shone in her eyes. The lives of the people from the Supreme Academy had nothing to do with her originally, but no matter what, she somewhat had some relations with Gu Tianhe and Feng Wudong. In reality, Yi Qingtang had not planned to poke her nose into this matter initially. However, she had some grudges with the Feng ancient clan. In the central mainland in her previous life, after the news that Yi Qingtang possessed the heart of the demon god was exposed, she faced assassination attempts from many forces. The Feng ancient clan which Feng Wuya was in also participated in seizing her heart and used lethal attacks several times. Sponsored content If it was anyone else, perhaps Yi Qingtang would not enter this saga. However, since it was an enemy from her previous life, she naturally did not mind settling the scores with him. Others were afraid of the Feng ancient clan, but not Yi Qingtang. Even if she offended the Feng ancient clan, she could just let Ling Yan help her think of a way out. Ha, ha, ha. Feng Wuya stood up with the support of the Divine Virtual Academy disciples. Although he was in a rather miserable state, his burning eyes sized up Yi Qingtang at this moment. Read latest chapters at List Novel. Once he saw Yi Qingtang's exquisite beauty, he nodded repeatedly and said, Not bad. Truly not bad. Such a beauty is truly uncommon already. Feng Wuya self-professed that he had seen countless beauties before, but there were few who could compare to this young lady before him. The young man in the lead of the Divine Virtual Academy disciples was a little helpless upon hearing Feng Wuya's comment. Sponsored content This fellow is already beaten up until like that, but his brain is still thinking about that kind of thing. Is this the legendary unable to move upon seeing a beauty? Little beauty, do you know who I am? I am the grandson of the Feng ancient clan's grand elder. You have already committed a death crime by hitting me today. Your friends, including everyone in your clan, will lose their lives because of your disrespect today. Feng Wuya's avaricious eyes swept across Yi Qingtang's body, and he laughed subsequently. However, you should be glad that you were born with such a good face. Since heaven gave you such a good face, I will give you a chance. Then, Feng Wuya looked at Yi Qingtang increasingly frivolously. From now on, you will follow me and please me well. I can consider pardoning your clan from death, and will only let them be slaves for eternity. How about that? Feng Wuya asked. A Supreme Academy disciple, Li Xiu, was surprised and had a confused look when he saw Yi Qingtang, who suddenly appeared. This lady was indeed wearing the uniform of a Supreme Academy disciple, but he had no memory of her. Could it be that he missed her out during the roll call just now? While Li Xiu had his confusions, it was not the time to think about this issue right now. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 902. It's you whom I am hitting for. Sponsored content. It was already a grave sin to hit Feng Wuya in public. Li Xiu immediately looked at Yi Qingtang and shouted with a frown, "You come over." After hearing that, Yi Qingtang looked at Li Xiu without any emotions. Don't you know that he is from the Feng ancient clan of the central mainland? How dare you touch him? Li Xiu was infuriated, and his brows were tightly furrowed. Although Feng Wuya was extremely despicable and Li Xiu himself also wanted to slaughter him to release his hatred, who would bear the consequences? Sponsored content. Once anything happened to Feng Wuya, it was without a doubt that the attacker would die. Not just so, even he and all the junior brothers and sisters present would have to face this frightening outcome. And the Supreme Academy might even be embroiled in it as well. What could they do by then? Could they let millions of people be buried together with one Feng Wuya? Hurry up and apologize to Brother Feng. Li Xiu frowned at Yi Qingtang and shouted. Upon hearing Li Xiu, Feng Wuya, who was waiting for Yi Qingtang's reply, snickered coldly immediately. Li Xiu, what are you? Apologize? Can just an apology solve the problem? You're so ridiculously naive. Uneasy, Li Xiu could only pile smiles on his face. Brother Feng, you are the bigger person. You possess the bloodline of the Feng clan. There's no need for you to lower your identity and fuss with these juniors. Sponsored content. Humph. Feng Wuya swept Li Xiu a disdainful look and scoffed. Li Xiu, I'm telling you this. If she doesn't agree, not just her but everyone present here will die an extremely tragic death. I want to chop off all your heads, bring them back to the central mainland, and hang them at the door of the Divine Virtual Academy. I'll let everyone know the outcome of offending my Feng ancient clan. Once Feng Wuya said that, everyone from the Supreme Academy was shaken, and Li Xiu's face turned pale instantly. However, at this very moment, in the group of Divine Virtual Academy disciples, two young disciples' eyes drifted to Yi Qingtang. The expressions of those two people were a little strange. Once they saw Yi Qingtang's face clearly, their eyes widened immediately, and were filled with fear while their bodies trembled. Almost at the same time, the two young disciples exchanged a look and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Sponsored content. This lady was the insanely talented disciple from Supreme Academy a few batches ago, and her martial skills were unfathomable. Previously, the two of them found Gu Tianhe, Feng Wudong, and the rest and wanted to attack them initially, but perfected Gu Yin came into the picture subsequently. Yet ultimately, they personally witnessed this lady before them slaughter perfected Gu Yin right there, and then with only one strike. That perfected Gu Yin was a divine arcane supremacy, and furthermore, his backing was the well-known Ling Yan. This lady even dared to kill Ling Yan's person. What else did she not dare to do? However, at this instant, Yi Qingtang was mentally devising a plot to bring Feng Wudong and Gu Tianhe away from this place. Every student of the Divine Virtual Academy was extremely powerful. It was said that this mainland had a strong suppression on the martial realm of outsiders, and perhaps Yi Qingtang still had means to deal with one or two people. But with so many of them joining forces, haha, looking at you, it seems that you're unwilling. Feng Wuya stared at Yi Qingtang, who still had not given a reply. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 903 It's You Whom I Am Hitting 5. Sponsored content. Feng Wuya laughed coldly. No matter whether you agree or not, it's not for you to decide. Then Feng Wuya told the group of Divine Virtual Academy disciples. You all, capture this slut for me immediately. Break her limbs if she resists. Just leave her with the last breath. After hearing Feng Wuya's words, the Divine Virtual Academy people nodded and walked towards Yi Qingtang with great strides. Upon noticing the situation, there were no emotions on Yi Qingtang's face, much less any signs of fear. Although Yi Qingtang had not yet absorbed the inheritance of the heavenly demon, the divine power of the heavenly demon pearl could still be used temporarily. If the power of the heavenly demon could be transferred out, she would not be able to defeat them, but she could flee this place alone without being caught by anyone. However, at this instant, two disciples from the Divine Virtual Academy suddenly rushed out and stopped the leader. Sponsored content. Senior brother, you cannot attack. The two disciples said frantically. Why? Why can't I attack? The leader of the Divine Virtual Academy disciples frowned. Senior brother, this lady is a Supreme Academy student from a few batches ago and was an insanely talented student. That Divine Virtual Academy disciple explained hurriedly. So what if she was an insanely talented disciple from a few batches ago? The leader scoffed coldly and did not put it to heart. So many of them were here. Would they still be afraid of an insanely talented disciple from the Supreme Academy? Senior brother, do you know Perfected Guyan? That disciple said. Of course I do. Ling Yan's teacher, a powerful figure at the Divine Arcane Supremacy level. The leader nodded. Sponsored content. Immediately, those two Divine Virtual Academy disciples exchanged a look and said rather bitterly, this lady killed Perfected Guyan with just one strike. What did you say? The moment he finished his sentence, everyone from Divine Virtual Academy and Supreme Academy was filled with shock. They were naturally aware of Perfected Guyan's skills, but what was unbelievable to them was that this lady actually killed Perfected Guyan, a Divine Arcane Supremacy, with one strike. Since the spirit energy on this mainland was insufficient, Perfected Guyan's martial realm was severely suppressed as a Divine Arcane Supremacy. Despite so, he was not someone they could contend against. Read more new novels on List Novel. To be able to kill Perfected Guyan with one strike. Didn't that mean in the central mainland, this lady was even more powerful than Perfected Guyan? Sponsored content. To them, Perfected Guyan was already a highly Divine Arcane Supremacy, yet this lady could kill him with a strike. What kind of existence was this lady? A Divine Arcane Supremacy at her peak, or a realm above the Arcane Supremacy, a Heavenly Venerate? Regardless of whether she was a Heavenly Venerate or a Divine Arcane Supremacy at her peak, she was considered an extremely powerful figure in the central mainland, especially if she was a Heavenly Venerate. A saying once circulated in the central mainland, anyone beneath a Venerate was nothing but an ant. In the central mainland, a virtual Arcane Supremacy was not anything, as there was still a Divine Arcane Supremacy above it. But above the Divine Arcane Supremacy, there was still the Heavenly Venerate. It was already extremely difficult for cultivators to enter the Heavenly Venerate realm. To many, a Heavenly Venerate represented an unparalleled figure, and was a legend. At this instant, the Supreme Academy side watched on Agape as well. 3 batches before. What kind of concept was that? Senior brother Li Xiu. This is Yi Qingtang, senior sister Yi. She is 3 batches before us. Feng Wudong struggled up and looked at Li Xiu and the rest. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 904 It's You Whom I Am Hitting 6. That's right. Senior sister Yi has some grudges with Perfected Guyan. She killed him with one strike and saved our lives. Gu Tianhe nodded in agreement. Sponsored content older by how many batches? 3 batches. Li Xiu was astonished. Junior brother Feng, junior brother Gu, do you all know how many years there are in a batch? The two of them were taken aback by the question and shook their heads. I'm not too clear. The two of them had only entered the Supreme Academy to cultivate for around 10 years. To Supreme Academy, these 10+ years were already considered short. Do you all know how old Supreme Academy's chief disciple, senior brother Long Qingyu, is this year? Li Xiu asked with a complicated expression. He should be around 200 years old, Gu Tianhe said instinctively. You said she is from 3 batches above. In that case, she is at least 600 years old. Li Xiu asked, alarmed. Sponsored content 600 years old. Everyone was astonished to hear that. This young, beautiful lady is actually 600 years old. Everyone knew that once one's martial cultivation reached the arcane supremacy realm, the speed of their aging would slow down tremendously. Upon reaching the heavenly venerate realm, one could completely remain young and maintain their youthful appearance if there was a need. What a joke! The leader of the Divine Virtual Academy disciples shouted coldly. You all said that she killed perfected Gu Yan. Do you all think that I'm a kid who is so easily fooled? If that's the case, what evidence do you all have? Although the two Divine Virtual Academy disciples said the same thing, the young leader did not believe them so easily. Evidence? Feng Wudong looked at Gu Tianhe, and his eyes flickered. Show them the evidence. Sponsored content. Gu Tianhe nodded, and subsequently retrieved a skull from his space ring. The eyes on that skull were still wide open in fury, and did not rest in peace. If he was not perfected Gu Yan, who else could it be? SSSSS. After seeing perfected Gu Yan's head, everyone from both Supreme Academy and Divine Virtual Academy gasped. The head in Gu Tian's hand was none other than perfected Gu Yan's head. This. Sponsored content. The leader of the Divine Virtual Academy disciples was shaken when he looked at perfected Gu Yan's skull. Senior brother, 3 batches ago, Supreme Academy seemed to have really produced a heavenly venerate. A Divine Virtual Academy disciple said cautiously at that moment. After hearing the conversation between the Divine Virtual Academy and Supreme Academy, Yi Qingtang, as the center of the discussion, was confused. Previously, she had already planned to use the Heavenly Demon Pearl's divine power to escape. Who would have thought that those two Divine Virtual Academy disciples would actually jump out to say that she killed perfected Gu Yan? Ling Yan, could it be that this is also in your scheme? For some reason, Yi Qingtang immediately thought of Ling Yan. If she guessed correctly, those two Divine Virtual Academy disciples who hid in the dark happened to be there, and witnessed her killing perfected Gu Yan because of Ling Yan's scheme. Since she already had a pretty good idea of the situation, she knew how she should settle this matter already. You are the imp of the Feng clan? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 905. It's you whom I am hitting. 7. Sponsored content. Yi Qingtang looked at Feng Wuya and shouted coldly. You're so young, yet you dare to be so impudent to me. A heavenly venerate. Let's not talk about you. Even the high-level powerful figures in your Feng clan do not dare to be so impudent when they see me. Yi Qingtang's words completely stunned everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy. She self-claimed to be a heavenly venerate in the central mainland. Even a powerful figure at the peak of the divine arcane supremacy did not dare to call himself a heavenly venerate, as such a title was only reserved for those in the heavenly venerate realm. Then, Feng Wuya looked at perfected Gu Yun's head and looked at Yi Qingtang. For some reason, fear arose within him as well. But under everyone's watch, that slight fear was subsequently suppressed as he kept a cold expression. So what if you're a venerate? My Feng ancient clan has several heavenly venerates too. Oh, Yi Qingtang snickered. Do you have any heavenly venerates by your side to protect you right now then? Sponsored content. Seeing that a murderous intent arose in Yi Qingtang's eyes, Feng Wuya was shaken, and immediately ordered the Divine Virtual Academy disciples. Quick! Kill her! Even if she's a heavenly venerate, there's nothing to be afraid of. There isn't enough spirit energy here, and her skills are severely repressed. While that was the case, no one from the Divine Virtual Academy dared to move. The intimidation effect of the Heavenly Venerate title was already sufficient. Let's not talk. Let's not talk about how her skills are repressed. Even if she remains at the same spot, do not retaliate and let us attack as we wish. I don't dare to either. A Divine Virtual Academy disciple mumbled. That's right. A Heavenly Venerate has powerful connections. If we kill a Heavenly Venerate here, once we return to the central mainland, many Heavenly Venerates will definitely be after our lives. A Heavenly Venerate's friends should all be Heavenly Venerates. Look at how beautiful she is. If there are Holy Venerates courting her or backing her. Holy Venerate. At the mention of the Holy Venerate, everyone's faces paled. Before a Holy Venerate, even Heavenly Venerates were no different from ants. Sponsored content. Hurry, move it. Feng Wuya hollered furiously. However, no one listened to Feng Wuya this time. They could do anything that Feng Wuya ordered them to but to kill a Heavenly Venerate. What joke was this? No matter how courageous they were, they did not dare to. Junior, whoever dares to act rashly will have their souls banished to the underworld. Yi Qingtang swept a look across the Divine Virtual Academy students. Whoever whom Yi Qingtang looked at immediately lowered their heads, not daring to make eye contact with her. Sponsored content. Heavenly Venerate. Not just Feng Wudong and Gu Tianhe, but everyone from the Supreme Academy, including Li Xiu, was completely stunned. It was also to say that this senior sister Yi once cultivated in the Supreme Academy 600 years ago. They actually met an insanely talented level senior sister from 600 years ago in the dragon vein. At the thought of that, Li Xiu felt goosebumps. How could he have shouted at this senior sister Yi just now? Senior sister Yi. Li Xiu immediately knelt on a knee and said hurriedly, Senior sister Yi, I did not know of your identity just now. Please pardon me. Yi Qingtang waved a hand. I will not fuss over such matters with you juniors. No matter what, you all are my junior brothers and sisters. Thank you, senior sister Yi. Li Xiu rose slowly, and his racing heart finally settled down a little. You are Li Xiu, Yi Qingtang said while looking at Li Xiu. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsors game to support us. Chapter 906. It's you whom I am hitting. 7. Sponsored content. Yes. Li Xiu nodded repeatedly. Good. Watch those Divine Virtual Academy disciples properly. Whoever dares to move, you can just beat them to death, Yi Qingtang said. Rest assured, senior sister Yi. Li Xiu agreed hastily without daring to have any objections. Repeat what I said again, Yi Qingtang said. Whoever from the Divine Virtual Academy dares to move, we will beat them to death. Li Xiu nimbly repeated. The Divine Virtual Academy students were taken aback. There was no need to repeat, right? They did not intend to move either. Swoosh. Yi Qingtang used the powers of the Heavenly Demon Pearl and disappeared from the ground in a flash. Sponsored content. The divine powers of the Heavenly Demon Pearl surged into the sky. The sudden eruption allowed Yi Qingtang's speed to increase by multiple folds. Even the Divine Virtual Academy and Supreme Academy disciples could not see Yi Qingtang's shadow with their naked eyes. She truly is a Heavenly Venerate. Even if her martial realm is majorly restricted on this mainland, her speed is truly frightening. Is she still human? The leader of the Divine Virtual Academy disciples was devoid of color. Fortunately, he did not attack that Heavenly Venerate at once just now. Otherwise, he would have died a wrong death. In the next second, Yi Qingtang appeared again, but beside Feng Wuya this time. You dare to touch me? Even if you are a Heavenly Venerate, my Feng ancient clan is not what you can offend. Feng Wuya looked at Yi Qingtang, who was just a short distance away from himself. Fear ultimately appeared on his face. Ever since he was born, no one ever had the thought to kill him. Currently, The Divine Virtual Academy disciples did not dare to attack Yi Qingtang at all, and he no longer acted in an imposing manner as before. Little kid, how dare you be so disrespectful to me? You are already a dead person. A cold glint shone in Yi Qingtang's eyes. Lending the divine power of the heavenly demon pearl, she condensed an extremely horrifying might in her hand and struck Feng Wuya instantly. Sponsored content. Just the air pressure from the palm attack was as sharp as daggers. Feng Wuya instinctively blocked the attack with his hands, but his entire left arm was shredded into pieces by the wind. Ah! A shrill cry escaped from Feng Wuya's mouth. Immediately, Feng Wuya withstood the excruciating pain and fled ahead. Where do you think you're escaping to? Yi Qingtang shouted coldly. You have a death wish. Feng Wuya hollered in anger and took out a pure golden-colored talisman. After taking out that talisman, there was a shocking change in Feng Wuya's manner instantly. The virtual image of a white-haired elderly actually appeared behind Feng Wuya. Sponsored content. The Grand Elder of the Feng clan. Everyone from Divine Virtual Academy and Supreme Academy was left agape when they saw the virtual image. The face of the virtual image was none other than the Grand Elder of the Feng clan, a powerful heavenly venerate. Grandfather, save me! Feng Wuya saw the figure of that white-haired elderly and wailed hurriedly. Humph! The virtual image let out a heavy scoff. With just this one sound, everyone at the scene was dizzy. Dozens of disciples paled and spat out blood. Apart from Yi Qingtang, no one was spared. Even Yi Qingtang's mind was a little adrift as well. This was merely the virtual image of a heavenly venerate, and his scoff possessed such might. If the Grand Elder of the Feng clan was present, everyone present would probably die instantly. Although the might of that scoff was unparalleled, Yi Qingtang possessed the heavenly demon pearl, and did not have anything to fear. A streak of heavenly demon aura surged out from Yi Qingtang's body, and dispersed the might of that scoff instantly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 907. It's you whom I am hitting. 8. Oh right, Ling Yan wanted me to tell you. There is his blood of karma on the heavenly demon pearl. If you meet with danger, you can use the heavenly demon pearl. The little white tiger suddenly crawled out of Yi Qingtang's arms. Sponsored content. Blood of karma. Yi Qingtang was shocked. Every drop of the blood of karma was extremely important to Ling Yan. There were two types of blood in Ling Yan's body. The first was the ordinary blood, while the second was the blood of karma. The virtual image shot a deadly glare at Yi Qingtang. This girl could actually withstand his aura. Grandfather, quickly kill her! Feng Wuya shouted in panic. Everyone here had already thrown up blood, but not this woman. Tear the talisman. It is sealed with one strike from me, the virtual image said. Sponsored content. Upon hearing the virtual image's words, Feng Wuya nodded repeatedly. One strike from a heavenly venerate? Everyone was astonished. That golden talisman was definitely some kind of treasure that could seal a powerful strike of a heavenly venerate. If that was really the case, the sealed strike was not in any way weakened, because it was already sealed a long time ago, and would not be affected by the spirit energy on this mainland. That would be a true strike of a heavenly venerate. Even if Yi Qingtang was also a heavenly venerate, her martial realm was repressed currently, and it was impossible for her to withstand a strike from a heavenly venerate. Haha! Even if you are a heavenly venerate, you will die without a doubt after sustaining one strike from my grandfather. Feng Wuya laughed coldly, as though he had already forgotten about the pain in his broken left arm, and he immediately tore up the golden talisman. Just as the golden talisman was torn apart, the weather changed drastically, and the ground tremored. It was as though heaven and earth were reversed in that instant. Sponsored content. Everyone's bodies were about to be ripped into pieces. There was agony and terror in the deepest corners of their hearts. Swoosh. In a flash, a bolt of light shot towards Yi Qingtang. No one could see the color or trace of this bolt of light. It was as if eternity penetrated the breath of destruction into this mainland. Nevertheless, Yi Qingtang's expression remained the same in the face of a strike from a heavenly venerate. She immediately transferred out all of the power of the heavenly demon pearl. Roar! At that moment, a black virtual image seemed to descend from the sky with the power of karma, surrounding the virtual image. Swiftly the black virtual image and the bolt of light clashed. Sponsored content, however. What was unbelievable was that the strike from the heavenly venerate and that black virtual image disappeared at the same time, and no one knew where they went. Karma diversion? The elderly's eyes flickered continuously as he stared at Yi Qingtang. This lady actually knew about the power of karma and used karma diversion to divert the power of his strike away. At the same time, in a certain corner of the dragon vein, Ling Yan stood beside the grave of the azure dragon and was surrounded by dozens of people. Ling Yan, you will die without a doubt today. I want to see who can save you. The powerful figures from the central mainland sneered. This Ling Yan is such a useless person. But he actually dared to come to this place alone and contend for the inheritance of the true dragon with us. Facing the encirclement of dozens of powerful figures, an unknown smile, however, hung on Ling Yan's lips. There's no hurry to take my life. But before that, I wish to play a game with you all. Game? A certain powerful figure was dumbfounded. Presently, Ling Yan was already doomed to die, but he still had the mood to play a game with them. Was he feigning calmness, or did he still have a hidden trump card? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 908 Demon-like Intelligence 1. This game is extremely simple. Let's guess who will die first. You or me? Ling Yan said with a smile. Sponsored content: cut the crap with him. Kill. Ling Yan was known to have demon-like intelligence. Although they had no idea what other cards Ling Yan had in his hand, they were a little restless when they faced such an intelligent person. Just in case anything happened, they had to kill Ling Yan in the fastest speed possible in order for their minds to be at ease. There are too many people that want my life. It's a pity that they always die before me. Ling Yan sighed softly. He turned a blind eye to the masses who surged towards him. He seemed completely relaxed, and no one could make sense of his calm composure. Swoosh. Sponsored content at the same time. A bolt of light appeared from somewhere and penetrated through the dozens of people present. That bolt of light was extremely blinding, and no one could withstand its lethality. Heavenly venerate. After sensing the power of this bolt of light, everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Boom, boom. In the next second, the bodies of the dozens of people turned into ashes from the bolt of light. Sponsored content witnessing the scene before him. Ling Yan's lips curled up slightly into a devilish smile. Such was the karma diversion. At this instant, the dozens of powerful figures, who initially besieged Ling Yan, were hit by the strike from the heavenly venerate due to the karma diversion. They turned into ashes and disappeared along with the wind. Anyone beneath a heavenly venerate is an ant, is it? Ling Yan stood with his hands behind him. His black hair danced in the wind as he looked up slowly with a faint smile. What about a heavenly venerate? At your peak you were the demon god. Suddenly, the little azure dragon walked out from behind and spoke to Ling Yan. Demon god, you say? Ling Yan slowly looked away and shook his head gently. The so-called demon god had already become past tense. If possible, he hoped to become the legendary divine emperor in this lifetime, and take a look at that even further, higher, and more mysterious world. Sponsored content: Ling Yan, you added the karma diversion on the heavenly demon pearl. This way, the strike of the heavenly venerate which Yi Qingtang bore will become your power boost. Not only will this resolve Yi Qingtang's crisis, but it even allowed you to obtain the inheritance of the true dragon. It truly is hitting two birds with one stone. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan and noted meaningfully. Hitting two birds with one stone, you say? Ling Yan smiled without saying much. However, I'm really curious about how you knew that Yi Qingtang would definitely be hit by a strike of a heavenly venerate. The little azure dragon was increasingly confused as it looked at Ling Yan. Before waiting for Ling Yan to speak, the little azure dragon suddenly said, "Don't say it yet. Let me take a guess. The Supreme Academy and Divine Virtual Academy are mortal enemies from the start. This time, a noble heir from the Feng ancient clan of the central mainland followed the team from the Divine Virtual Academy. Given his personality, he would definitely clash with the Supreme Academy, while the people from the Supreme Academy definitely would not dare to attack him because of his identity. And given Miss Ye's character, she would not watch from aside. But you lured the 2 Divine Virtual Academy disciples to the scene where Yi Qingtang killed perfected Gu Yin with a strike." The little azure dragon paused for a while and continued. "As long as those 2 disciples tell the other Divine Virtual Academy disciples about the incident, the Divine Virtual Academy disciples would definitely be fearful, or may treat Yi Qingtang as a heavenly venerate. As such, Yi Qingtang would have the opportunity to attack that noble." The more the little azure dragon spoke, the more it felt that its speculation was correct. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 909 Demon-like Intelligence 2. Although that noble's skills are not powerful, as a noble heir of the Feng clan, he definitely had the means to protect his life and launch a deadly strike. In that case, your karma diversion was put to use, where you made use of the deadly strike from the noble heir of the Feng clan to help you obtain the inheritance of the true dragon. Am I right? The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan with burning eyes. The more it speculated, the more it was overcome with emotion. Sponsored content: how intelligent is this Ling Yan exactly? He really possessed a demon-like intelligence. You are very smart too, Ling Yan said with a smile. Ling Yan, oh Ling Yan. From the moment you asked Miss Yi to deal with perfected Gu Yin, you have already schemed everything. You are in control of the entire situation, have an incredible foresight, and are extremely shrewd. TSK, you have my admiration. The little azure dragon remarked sincerely. Probably no one in this world could fully grasp Ling Yan's plan. However, Ling Yan, no matter how intelligent you are, I can guess of whatever you think of as well. The little azure dragon spoke once again before Ling Yan could speak. Sponsored content MHM. Ling Yan nodded and said, "But it's a pity that you missed out some things." The little azure dragon was alarmed when it heard what Ling Yan said, and immediately shook its head. Missed out some things? How can it be? How would I miss anything out? Ling Yan looked at the little azure dragon and chuckled. In your opinion, what would the Jiang clan do when I helped Miss Yi to teach Yi, the granddaughter of the domain master Jiang Duantian, a lesson? Although the little azure dragon did not know why Ling Yan suddenly mentioned this, it still replied, I'm afraid you will be in great danger, given your martial skills cultivation. Since that's the case, what will happen if the Feng clan and the Jiang family fought? Ling Yan questioned again. Sponsored content, the Jiang family and the Feng clan? The little azure dragon was a little puzzled. The two ancient clans are extremely powerful. Although there are some minor conflicts usually, how could such strong ancient forces start a war for no reason? If someone from the Jiang family killed the grandson of the Feng ancient clan's grand elder, what would happen? Ling Yan smiled. Almost instinctively, the little azure dragon replied hurriedly. Do I still need to say? Of course they would get to the bottom of it. But is that possible? That noble heir will die in Yi Qingtang's hands, wouldn't he? What has this got to do with the Jiang family? But who would know that Miss Yi obtained the heavenly demon pearl? Ling Yan's lips tugged up slightly. As a smile bloomed on his face, his expression appeared a little more detached. You, the little azure dragon stared at Ling Yan in shock. Not only did you add the power of the karma diversion on the heavenly demon pearl, but there's also the interfering aura from the karma. Sponsored content, that's right. Ling Yan nodded slightly and said, that grand elder of the Feng clan left a streak of his spiritual power on his grandson. Once something happens to his grandson, the spiritual power would resurrect. If he sees that a lady with the heavenly demon bloodline killed his grandson, how do you think the Grand Elder of the Feng clan would think? The little azure dragon narrowed its eyes and looked at Ling Yan. If that's the case, the Grand Elder of the Feng clan would definitely think that the murderer of his grandson is from the Jiang family. Because in the entire central mainland, only the Jiang family possesses the heavenly demon bloodline. Since you interacted with that Yu previously, you used the power of karma to absorb the aura of her bloodline and transferred it to the heavenly demon Pearly with the power of your karma diversion. So, no matter what, the Grand Elder of the Feng clan will definitely believe that it was a member of the Jiang family who killed his grandson. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Ling Yan's hair swayed gently as he looked down with a faint smile without saying anything. However, Ling Yan, that Grand Elder should have seen Yi Qingtang's face. Will your plan really work? The little azure dragon was rather confused again. To kill perfected Gu Yun with one strike, and still be alive after a venerate appeared. What do you think such a person's martial realm should be? Ling Yan asked. At least a heavenly venerate. The little azure dragon replied. What about Miss Yi? Ling Yan asked. Yi Qingtang? Just an ordinary yin-yang perfected lord. The little azure dragon answered honestly. The moment the little azure dragon spoke, a flash of light ran in his head instantly. It looked at Ling Yan with newfound realization and exclaimed. I understand now. The Divine Virtual Academy students would insist that it's not that they did not protect the Feng clan noble, but that the incomer was a heavenly venerate. Since that's the case, how could an ordinary yin-yang perfected lord kill a Feng clan noble, who had the protection of many powerful Divine Virtual Academy disciples? Thus, even if Yi Qingtang's luck was extremely bad, and she is found by the Grand Elder of the Feng clan, he would not believe that his grandson was killed by her. Instead, he would feel that someone intentionally disguised into her appearance and wanted to push the blame to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang's true skills happened to be able to confuse the Grand Elder's judgments. Everyone would insist that a heavenly venerate killed Feng Wuxia. Thus, in the eyes of the Grand Elder, Yi Qingtang, a yin-yang perfected lord, would definitely not be the murderer. Even if the Grand Elder of the Feng clan saw Yi Qingtang's face previously, he definitely would not believe that she was the one who did it. After all, the martial realms did not match at all. How could a young girl at the yin-yang perfected lord realm kill Feng Wuxia, who was protected by the Divine Virtual Academy disciples? Furthermore, the Feng clan had always been suspicious and would naturally overcomplicate Feng Wuxia's murder. Fraudulence disguising of identity, the Feng clan would probably have such speculations. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan in shock. This person was truly meticulous in his actions, and there was no flaw to be spoken of. Every step in his scheme was a dead end with no way out for others. Ling Yan, if I guess correctly, you want the Feng clan to attack the Jiang family, not for yourself. There's completely no need for you to provoke the Jiang family. You must have done so for Yi Qingtang. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan meaningfully. The Jiang family and Ling Yan did not have many relations, and Ling Yan did not need to deal with the Jiang family at all. Rather, Yi Yu and Yi Qingtang were mortal enemies, but Yi Yu became the granddaughter of the domain master, Jiang Duantian. As such, if Yi Qingtang headed to the central mainland, she would be in critical danger anytime. The little azure dragon could ascertain that the true reason Ling Yan schemed against the Jiang family and drew such a huge enemy to the Feng clan was to protect Yi Qingtang. Miss Yi, you say? An unnamed coldness emerged in Ling Yan's eyes. I will let anyone who has evil designs on Miss Yi have a taste of extreme misery, like that of in hell. TSKK, are you still the Ling Yan I know? After hearing what Ling Yan said, the little azure dragon looked at him with an ambiguous expression. If that's the case, you can get to know me again. The icy expression in his eyes faded away, and he resumed his usual faint smile on his face. There is a common saying here. Once one's martial skills reach their peak, they can destroy all evil plots. However, everything is relative. Once demonic intelligence reaches a certain level, it can destroy all gods, surpass all martial qi, and destroy the heavens in one stroke. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan and shook its head. At that moment on a certain mountain ridge, Yi Qingtang studied her surroundings. The mightiest blow, by a heavenly venerate, had actually dissipated completely. Ling Yan's karma diversion. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply. The heavenly demon bloodline. A cold light glinted in the virtual image's eyes when it sensed the aura emitted by Yi Qingtang. You are a clansman of the domain monarch Jiang Duantian. After hearing what the old man said, Yi Qingtang did not speak, but appeared thoughtful. Perhaps, Ling Yan had used karma diversion to move the aura of Yi Yu's bloodline to her body. When blended with the aura from the heavenly demon pearl, it had caused the heavenly venerate to mistake her for a member of the Jiang clan. Ling Yan, oh Ling Yan, how well you have calculated. She had not thought that Ling Yan would have prepared all this in advance. However, since Ling Yan had already arranged all this, she did not need to waste these plans. Yi Qingtang contemplated inwardly. When he saw that Yi Qingtang did not reply, the old man became even more certain. This girl, who has such a strong aura of the heavenly demon bloodline, must certainly be a member of the Jiang family. Our Feng clan and your Jiang family have always kept clear of each other. Today you have broken the rules. The virtual image spoke coldly. Further, this girl had earlier withstood the force of his scoff. In terms of martial skills, she was at least at the level of a heavenly venerate. In the entirety of the central mainland, even within the entire first domain, a heavenly venerate with heavenly demon bloodlines could only be found in the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang clearly understood that this virtual image had taken her for a member of the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang naturally did not reveal her status. In order to hide her true status, she did not even draw her sword. She stepped forward and appeared in front of Feng Wuya. In a flash, Yi Qingtang gripped Feng Wuya's neck and lifted him in midair. Grandfather, save me. At that moment, veins bulged in Feng Wuya's forehead. His eyes were bloodshot, and his feet danced in midair as he cried out with difficulty. He was the grandson of the Grand Elder of the Feng clan. Everyone had looked up to him since the day he was born. With his lofty position, he had never experienced this kind of terror. Release my grandson. Could it be that you want to start a war between the Feng family and the Jiang family? The virtual image spoke angrily when he saw Yi Qingtang lift up Feng Wuya. Yi Qingtang swept a cold glance at the ashen Feng Wuya in her grip. She raised her eyes slightly, looked at the virtual image, and scoffed coldly. What a joke! Who does the Feng clan think they are? Could it be that the Feng clan does not know who the first domain belongs to? How dare you? The virtual image raged. Does the Jiang family really think that the first domain belongs to them? How dare you? After I, a heavenly venerate, arrived, your grandson dared to be discourteous to me. If it were anyone else, I would have already killed his entire family. Today, I am only killing your grandson. You should count yourself fortunate. With that, Yi Qingtang did not give the virtual image an opportunity to say anything else. A cold gleam of light suddenly flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. Her hand exerted a force and instantly crushed Feng Wuya's neck. Feng Wuya's neck immediately broke with a crack. His head drooped limply, and blood seeped from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. He was dead on the spot. Feng Wuya's face was written with shock and terror, up to the moment of his death. He had never dreamt that he would die here. As Feng Wuya's life ebbed away, the trace of aura lingering in his body also dissipated, and the virtual image vanished. At that moment, in the territory of an ancient clan in central mainland, a certain old man's half-shut eyes suddenly opened. A terrifying aura instantly and completely shrouded the territory of the ancient clan. The weather changed as if even the land was shuddering under the rage of the old man. Jiang family. The old man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His voice was like thunder that tore the dark clouds asunder. Amidst the dragon vein forests, when all the disciples of the Supreme Academy and the Divine Virtual Academy saw the tragic way Feng Wuya died, they were all terrified. Their expressions were filled with disbelief. That was the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan. He had died just like that. Finished. The leader of the youths from the Divine Virtual Academy was as pale as a corpse. His body was drenched in cold sweat. It was as if his entire body had been drained of energy. Feng Wuya had followed them into the dragon vein. Now Feng Wuya had died tragically on this land. How were they supposed to give an account to the ancient Feng clan when they returned? Everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy was both shocked and terrified. No one dared to make a false move. Although the ancient Feng clan was terrifying, the heavenly venerate in front of them was equally frightening. Further, even if the ancient Feng clan wanted to call them to account, it would only be after they returned to central mainland. But this heavenly venerate was right before their eyes. If she so wished, she could immediately take their lives. What a pity! Yi Qingtang stared at Feng Wuya, who had died. On Feng Wuya's hand was an exquisite space ring. As the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan, Feng Wuya's space ring would certainly contain unimaginable treasures. What a pity that as her current status as heavenly venerate, she could not snatch away Feng Wuya's space ring in front of everyone. If she really did that, it would arouse suspicion. With that thought, Yi Qingtang's gaze swept towards the group from the Divine Virtual Academy. Thump! Before Yi Qingtang could react, the young man, who was the leader of the Divine Virtual Academy, suddenly knelt on the ground. His face filled with panic as he said, Senior Heavenly Venerate, this Feng Wuya was guilty of the most heinous crimes. He forced us all, we had no choice. That's right. We have long been unhappy with that beast, Feng Wuya. Senior Heavenly Venerate, that bastard Feng Wuya used his status as the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan to lord it over us. Not to talk about the young and pretty female disciples of the Supreme Academy. Even in our Divine Virtual Academy, he forcefully robbed many of our junior and senior sisters of their innocence. Senior Heavenly Venerate, Feng Wuya's death is not worth mourning over. Senior, you have gotten rid of an evil person. This killing is good, truly good. At that moment, everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy was absolutely terrified. This person had killed Feng Wuya without batting an eye. If she wanted to kill them, would it not be like crushing an ant? At that moment, they could only plead for her to allow them to live. Naturally, each of them mustered all their energy to show contempt of Feng Wuya, desperate to sever all connections with him. Get lost! Yi Qingtang flicked her sleeves. She had no interest in talking nonsense with them. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy nodded vigorously. They immediately fled after receiving amnesty. They were all deeply afraid that Yi Qingtang would change her mind. They fled the place as fast as they could. Their only regret was that their parents had not given them a few more legs at birth. Senior Sister Yi. As they looked at the fleeing figures of the people from the Divine Virtual Academy, Li Xiao, Feng Wudong, and Gu Tianhe walked towards Yi Qingtang. Senior Sister Yi needs to be more careful. After all, Feng Wuya is the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan. Now that Senior Sister Yi has executed him, the ancient Feng clan will not let take this lying down. When he heard what Gu Tianhe said, Li Xiao said, Senior Sister Yi is a heavenly venerate. Since she dared to kill Feng Wuya, she is not afraid of the ancient Feng clan. There is no need for you to worry unnecessarily. Gu Tianhe nodded when he heard that. Only then did he truly realize that this Senior Sister Yi was a heavenly venerate. There was nothing to worry about even if she took the life of an ordinary virtual arcane supremacy. Yi Qingtang said to Feng Wudong, Gu Tianhe, and the others, I still have other matters to attend to. All of you have to be careful in the dragon vein. Don't worry, Senior Sister Yi, said Li Xiao. Is Senior Sister Yi going to the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix? Gu Tianhe asked curiously as he looked at Yi Qingtang. That's right. Yi Qingtang nodded in agreement without denying it. Gu Tianhe, Feng Wudong, and the others had previously followed the guidance of the wintry yang aura and passed by the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. However, for some reason, the wintry yang aura seemed to repel them. Very few powerful people could be led within by the wintry yang aura. When she heard this news from Gu Tianhe and the others, Yi Qingtang remained composed and showed no signs of surprise. It was natural for high-level inheritances of this nature to be like that. It was not that the person chose the inheritance, but that the inheritance chose the person. Not just anyone could enter the eye of the inheritance. It was naturally like the heavenly demon pearl, which was an inheritance from the heavenly demon. Yi Qingtang had originally wanted to obtain the inheritance from the heavenly demon, but Yi Yu had obtained it first, and Yi Qingtang had taken it later. The meaning was completely different. Under the reverent gaze of the group from the Supreme Academy, Yi Qingtang slowly moved farther and farther away, until she vanished from their sight. With the guidance of the wintry yang aura, after half a day, Yi Qingtang traversed the mountain range and arrived at an idyllic valley. Yi Qingtang saw over 10 men and women, both young and old, gathered at a stream. The aura of the divine arcane supremacy appeared among them. Every one of these 10+ people had a formidable presence. They could not be compared with an ordinary arcane supremacy. Yin Yang child. Yi Qingtang gaze swept over the group of people. At a glance, she saw that Yin Yang child and the others were also among them. Yi Qingtang immediately shook her head secretly. Why had Yin Yang child come to the inheritance of the divine phoenix, instead of going to the inheritance of the true dragon? Then, she saw another girl arrive. Everyone's gaze moved over to study her, and then moved aside after a while. This inheritance of the divine phoenix is so lively. But not just anyone can come here and be acknowledged by the divine phoenix. An elegant-looking girl dressed in green with a sword girded about her waist glanced at Yi Qingtang, then turned up her nose and sneered. 100 meters away from the spring laid a route that everyone had to pass through. It was covered by a pale red screen. To contest for the inheritance of the divine phoenix, one must first obtain the recognition from the divine phoenix. Otherwise, one would not even have the qualifications to contest for the inheritance, much less obtain it. A moment later, Yi Qingtang calmly walked towards the pale red screen with great strides. In just an instant, Yi Qingtang passed through the screen. Many were surprised by what they saw. This lady actually obtained the divine phoenix's recognition so easily. Amongst them, there were people who even tried over 10 times before barely passing through the screen. It's you? After Yi Qingtang entered the screen, Yin Yang child recognized her at first sight. Yin Yang child immediately stood up and glared at Yi Qingtang furiously. Although Yin Yang child's skills were powerful, he was rather young, only about 13 or 14, and thus he was half of Yi Qingtang's height when he stood before Yi Qingtang. What happened, little fellow? Yi Qingtang looked at Yin Yang child and chuckled with smiles in her eyes. What did you say, little fellow? Who are you calling little fellow? After hearing Yi Qingtang's address, Yin Yang child was instantly taken aback. A long while later, his eyes twinkled with threat, and an intent to kill Yi Qingtang arose. Where exactly is my father's 9 sons seized souls book? How dare you all trick me and lead me to where black and white holy sun was? Yin Yang child shouted sternly as he glared at Yi Qingtang. Just because of what Ling Yan said, he actually crossed paths with black and white holy sun when he was heading to find the 9 sons seized souls book. Yin Yang child and black and white holy sun were foes, and both of them could be said to be like fire and water. Every time they met, they would be caught up in a long and intense fight. Yet, Yin Yang child's skills were worse than black and white holy suns. When both of them met a while ago, Yin Yang child was almost killed by black and white holy sun. Seeing Yi Qingtang right now, Yin Yang child was obviously searing with fury. Yi Qingtang indiscreetly glanced across the people in the screen, where she happened to see another figure. That person was none other than Yin Yang child's enemy, black and white holy sun. The two who were originally fire and water, however, remained within the screen safely. Even after seeing how exasperated Yin Yang child was, black and white holy sun remained at his spot far away, as though he did not have any intention to fight with Yin Yang child at all. A thought suddenly emerged in Yi Qingtang's mind. Her eyes swept across the other people within the screen, and she understood the situation. Subsequently, Yi Qingtang spoke plainly. I am not your father. You should ask your father if you want the 9 Sons Seized Souls book. It was as though she was utterly ignorant of the murderous intent in Yin Yang Child's eyes. It seems you have a death wish. Yin Yang Child was infuriated immediately. He condensed all his strength in his left palm and aimed towards Yi Qingtang's glabella. The power of this hit was extremely frightening, and even the sturdiest metals would be crushed into pieces by Yin Yang Child's attack. However, Yi Qingtang did not dodge or avoid Yin Yang Child's attack, and an unknowing scoff played on her lips. In a flash, Yin Yang Child's palm landed violently, and a piercing sound lingered in the air. However, just as Yin Yang Child's palm was less than 3 inches away from Yi Qingtang, a scarlet gleam suddenly appeared from midair and pushed Yin Yang Child to the ground. How hateful! Yin Yang Child stood up in helpless rage. This is the Divine Phoenix's land of inheritance. How can you behave so impudently here? Yi Qingtang cast Yin Yang Child a look and said coldly. Indeed, her speculation was right. She found it strange since just now, given the conflict between Yin Yang Child and Black and White Holy Sun, how could they remain at the same place in peace? Perhaps it was not that they suddenly decided to bury the hatchet, but that they were simply forbidden from attacking each other within this screen in the land of inheritance. Coming to think of it, the supreme great inheritance here had great spiritual wisdom, and trialists favored upon by the inheritance were completely forbidden from attacking each other. Otherwise, if someone's skills overrode the others and he killed everyone else, wouldn't the inheritance belong to him without a doubt? As such, once any trialist attacks another trialist in such a land of inheritance, the inheritance would step in to prevent such an incident from happening. No matter how powerful one was, he was still unable to unleash his skills to harm others once in this land of inheritance. Otherwise, not mentioning the conflict between Yin Yang Child and Black and White Holy Sun, the other people within the screen would probably already have fought each other with their lives to contend for the inheritance. How would there still be so many people standing around foolishly? Yi Qingtang sensed the abnormality from the start, and vaguely guessed the rules in this land of inheritance. As such, even if she saw that Yin Yang Child wanted to kill her, she was never anxious. Anyway, they had already entered the land of inheritance, and all Yin Yang Child could do was to glare at her no matter how annoyed he was. Ha ha ha, Yin Yang Child, you still have the temperament of a child. She agitated you on purpose, and you still foolishly attacked her. A teenager in black armor mocked when he saw Yin Yang Child being thrown onto the ground forcefully by the power of the Divine Phoenix. Black and White Holy Sun, I didn't think that you would actually treat this kind of person as your opponent. Isn't it too boring? Without giving Yin Yang Child a chance to speak, the teenager in black armor commented again with a smile as he looked at a good-looking man whose hair reached his waist. Upon hearing that, the good-looking man, who was referred to as Black and White Holy Sun, shot a distant look at the teenager. You talk too much. Do I? The teenager sneered. He was about to continue saying something, but a solemn voice rang in the air. Any trialist who attacks others again will be expelled from here. Everyone could not help but be taken aback when they heard it. The inheritance of the Divine Phoenix finally appeared. The Divine Phoenix's voice appeared only for one moment, and disappeared without a trace. That's strange. Didn't the Divine Phoenix already die in the battle? Why did the Divine Phoenix's voice appear here? Right. Could it be that the Divine Phoenix did not even die, and was searching for an inheritor here instead? Everyone was curious about the appearance of the Divine Phoenix's voice, and there were many discussions about it. The Divine Phoenix did pass on. However, such supreme beings can still keep a tiny trace of its spirit alive, even if it had died for millions of years. This remaining spirit is the protector and ruler of the Divine Phoenix's land of inheritance. One must obtain its permission in order to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. Anyone who snatches by force will face a tragic ending regardless if the person was a holy venerate or holy venerate. An emotionless voice rang at that moment. Upon hearing it, everyone looked in the direction of the source of the voice. A man was sitting cross-legged by a stream. His long, purple hair reached his waist while his eyes remained shut. Absolute monarch of heaven. After they recognized the man, the person's face changed slightly. Absolute monarch of heaven was one of the extraordinary talents of the younger generation in Central Mainland. He possessed outstanding talents and was ranked near the top of the honor roll list. Yi Qingtang's eyes followed everyone's line of sight and slowly landed on the absolute monarch of heaven. When she saw the face of the man, Yi Qingtang was stunned. The purple-haired man before her was so familiar. In Yi Qingtang's previous life, she became sworn siblings with 6 brothers, one of whom was the absolute monarch of heaven before her. Yi Qingtang never thought that she would meet the absolute monarch of heaven at this place. As she looked at him sitting cross-legged by the stream and his long, purple hair dancing in the wind bewitchingly, reminiscence filled her. Memories of the time spent with the 6 sworn brothers flooded her mind. Those were the few memories from her past life that were worth looking back on. Although many scenes filled her mind, Yi Qingtang quickly looked away at this instant. In this life, she did not have any relations with the absolute monarch of heaven yet, and he was not her sworn brother. It was thus better to not look at him for too long, or else it would arouse the suspicion of the absolute monarch of heaven. Haha, I was wondering who it was. So it is the absolute monarch of heaven. However, absolute monarch of heaven, how do you know so much? The man in black armor looked at absolute monarch of heaven and asked with a smile. However, absolute monarch of heaven no longer gave any response. The man in black armor did not gain any reply, and he did not say anything more either. When is the trial starting? At this instant, many powerful figures exchanged a look. The divine phoenix spoke just now, but it was only one sentence, and it did not make any sound again after that. Currently, no one could give any answers, and the only thing they could do was to wait. As for when they had to wait until, no one was clear. After all, the divine phoenix did not give any more hints. Yi Qingtang was not anxious. Seeing that the trial for the inheritance of the divine phoenix had not opened, she was not as restless as the others. Instead, she found a quiet place to sit and consolidate her martial cultivation. No one could conjecture the divine phoenix's meaning. Since that was the case, all she needed to do was to wait patiently and not waste energy. Presently, Yi Qingtang's martial cultivation had already entered the Yin-Yang Perfected Lord Third Heaven and was steadily advancing towards Yin-Yang Perfected Lord Fourth Heaven. In no time, she could make a breakthrough to the Fourth Heaven. Time ticked away. The bright sky turned dark and back bright again. This cycle continued for about half a month. As time passed, every minute became unknowing torture to the people within the screen. For the entire half a month, the divine phoenix never appeared. The patience of the people awaiting the inheritance of the divine phoenix eroded away bit by bit. No one knew exactly when the trial for the inheritance of the divine phoenix would begin. Remaining within the screen, it was as though they were waiting for a destiny so far in the indefinite future. They did not have any clue about it, and did not know its deadline. In this half a month, some cultivators ran out of patience and left the land of inheritance halfway. However, when they returned and tried to step into the screen again, they were isolated outside and could no longer enter the screen at all. Everyone understood the current situation. Once any one of them left the land of inheritance, it would be impossible for them to enter it again. Yet, even if they remained in the land of inheritance, the inheritance of the divine phoenix did not appear. Chapter 9:17 The Divine Phoenix's Trial, 2. The passing of time gradually became a form of torture. One would not have the opportunity to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix should he leave. But if he remained, no one knew when would the wait end. The wait was so long it seemed forever. Until a month later, several cultivators lamented and left. All of their patience had been eroded by this indefinite wait. With the continuous departures, only 2/3 of the trialists remained in the land of inheritance. Apart from the endless wait, procuring food was a significant issue as well. Although it was said that one's need for food would reduce as the cultivation realm increased, they still needed to consume something. While everyone had a space ring, which powerful figure would store large quantities of food in their space ring. The little amount of food that they brought was quickly depleted. Fortunately, there were wild fruits nearby that could replenish their energy. Otherwise, no one could persevere this long. 2 months later, the Divine Phoenix's voice appeared once again. To the masses within the screen, its voice could be claimed to be heavenly. "Congratulations, you all have passed the first round of the trial," said a scarlet virtual image that appeared in the sky. After hearing the Divine Phoenix's voice again, everyone was delighted, but also dumbfounded when they heard what the Divine Phoenix said. "Congratulations, they have passed the first round of the trial." What did that mean? Very quickly, the people understood the meaning behind the Divine Phoenix's words. Ever since they entered the land of inheritance, the trial of the Divine Phoenix had already begun. It was, however, that no one knew about it. The endless, indefinite wait was the first trial that the Divine Phoenix gave them. Those cultivators who had already left were equivalent to those who had not passed the first round of the trial. Yi Qingtang opened her eyes slowly. 2 months was not torture to her. Everyone has been here for about 2 months, and must be extremely exhausted already. Please come with me. After saying that, its scarlet figure floated ahead immediately. Noticing the situation, everyone, including Yi Qingtang, followed after the Divine Phoenix without hesitation. About an hour later, everyone followed the Divine Phoenix and reached a small bamboo forest. As soon as they entered the small bamboo forest, the aroma of food entered their noses. Just the aroma was enough to cause one to salivate. Moreover, these were people who had been eating wild fruits for 2 months. When everyone looked up, they noticed a huge long table not far away from them. That long table could seat hundreds of people. All sorts of rare and exotic delicacies from around the world were displayed on the table. After leading the group here, the Divine Phoenix said gently, "You all have only been relying on wild fruits to fill your stomach over the past 2 months. All of you must be very tired and famished right now. Please take a seat." After hearing the Divine Phoenix's orders, everyone immediately dispersed and took a seat. "Please," the Divine Phoenix said. Everyone had been eating wild fruits for 2 months, and did not have much of an appetite with the Divine Phoenix present. They did not dare to overly display their desire for food. However, since the Divine Phoenix had already spoken, some cultivators expressed their thanks and immediately wolfed down the food, as though they wanted to make up for the fine delicacies they did not eat in the past 2 months at one go. However, as those cultivators were eating heartily, some others frowned and did not take any action. Seated at the side of the long table, Yi Qingtang looked at the delicacies plainly without any intention to consume them. "Why are you all not eating?" Sensing the behavior of those people, the Divine Phoenix's eyes landed on Yi Qingtang, and it asked in confusion. Yi Qingtang slowly stood up and replied with cupped fists, "I just think it is a little strange, thus I did not start eating." Strange, the Divine Phoenix was taken aback. "So you're saying that these delicacies are poisoned?" Upon hearing that, the cultivators who were wolfing down the food stopped eating immediately and looked at the Divine Phoenix in shock. This Divine Phoenix could not have really poisoned the delicacies, could it? "It's not that I think you poisoned us." Yi Qingtang shook her head and said slowly, "I just feel that it's a little odd only." "Tell me what is odd," the Divine Phoenix said calmly. "How could there be food in this mystic realm? Let's talk about this wine first. It requires specialized brewing, and there are no ingredients in the valley that could make it, let alone the technical process of making the wine." Yi Qingtang explained slowly and continued, "Even if the ingredients are available, I believe that you may not know how to make wine. Even if you do know, you may not have the tools. Next, these delicacies have a delightful appearance and smell. However, you do not have a physical body. How can you make these items? Moreover, the Divine Phoenix clan is adept at illusions. Hence, I feel that all of this is probably an illusion which you created, Lord Divine Phoenix." Yi Qingtang looked up slightly at the Divine Phoenix with clear eyes. Illusion? After hearing Yi Qingtang's explanation, the cultivators who were eating their hearts out found it rather unbelievable. If this was an illusion, it was a little too real. The taste of the wine and delicacies still lingered in their tongues. Moreover, there were so many of them present, and the divine phoenix did not have any chance to execute an illusion on them. Naturally, it was a different affair if the divine phoenix was incredibly powerful. You think that this is an illusion? The divine phoenix looked at Yi Qingtang. It's only my guess. I cannot be sure. Yi Qingtang replied. What about you? The divine phoenix looked at Yin Yang Child. Me? I'm afraid you would poison me. Yin Yang Child replied straightly. You. Very quickly, the divine phoenix looked at Black and White Holy Sun. My body constitution is special. I don't need to eat or drink. Black and White Holy Sun replied with a slight shrug. What about you then? The divine phoenix looked at the absolute monarch of heaven a while later. I'm not hungry, replied the absolute monarch of heaven. The majority of the people at the scene thought that it was a little strange. Due to their habitual cautiousness, they did not begin eating. What about you? Why did you eat? A moment later, the divine phoenix looked at the cultivators who consumed the food. Why? The cultivator who was pointed out by the divine phoenix was slightly dumbfounded. Didn't you ask us to eat? You? The divine phoenix looked at another person. I'm hungry, that cultivator replied. I understand now. The divine phoenix nodded after gaining the answers. As the divine phoenix finished its sentence, the small bamboo forest shattered like glass pieces. Everyone's expressions changed drastically when they returned to their senses. Currently, they were still beside the stream of the mountain valley. Where were the delicacies from before? Everyone looked around their surroundings. The stream before their eyes was more than familiar. From the very start till the end, all of them had never left this place at all. Illusion. Several cultivators who were proficient in illusion techniques were completely shaken. They were extremely accomplished in the field of illusions, and definitely could sense it if an illusion technique was cast on them. However, the illusion cast by this divine phoenix was simply flawless, and was no different from reality. It was as though they entered the illusory space from reality in a second without any signs of it. Who could have sensed that such a sophisticated move was an illusion? How can this be? The cultivators who consumed the delicacies a while ago were dumbstruck. After feasting, they clearly felt the wine passing down their throats, and the delicacies filling their stomachs. How could this be an illusion? This was too frighteningly real. The divine phoenix had passed away with the true dragon many years ago. Currently, this scarlet virtual image was merely the last trace of the spirit of the divine phoenix. Could it be that the last remaining spirit of the divine phoenix was so powerful? How terrifying was this power? If the divine phoenix wanted to use the illusion technique to massacre them, it could do that in an instant. If the divine phoenix wanted to do harm, everyone at the scene would already have died. It's a pity that you all are not cautious enough. I told you all to eat, and so did you all. If I told you all to die, would you all listen obediently as well? The divine phoenix sighed as it looked at those cultivators who ate heartily and were currently at a loss right now. A few cultivators were a little baffled. Of course, there was no problem in following the orders if they were told to dig in and feast, but it was definitely impossible if they were told to die. Without giving the cultivators a chance to speak, the divine phoenix shook its head rather disappointingly. You all are not cautious enough, and the inheritance of the divine phoenix must not land in the hands of careless and impatient people. After it spoke, the cultivators' bodies exploded instantly and turned into chopped pieces. Many cultivators were left agape by what they saw. Even if they did not pass the divine phoenix's assessment, it did not get to the point where it had to kill those people, did it? Who knew if they could pass the assessment? If they were unable to, wouldn't they die as well? At this moment, everyone could not help but begin to feel that the cultivators who left out of impatience at the very first round of trials were extremely lucky. Although those people did not pass the first round, they did not have to worry about their lives. Currently, the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix has already begun. From the second round onward, victors can obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, while failures only have the fate of death. Anyone who is afraid can withdraw, the Divine Phoenix announced coldly. I withdraw. A lady took a step forward immediately, and said after a moment of hesitation, only one person could obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. In that case, out of the remaining 30+ people, only one person could live, who was willing to gamble with their lives. May I ask how many people will eventually obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix? A young man asked with a frown. Only one. The scarlet figure replied. If that's the case, I will withdraw as well. The young man lamented and shook his head. Forget it. It seems that the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, and I have no fate. I will withdraw too. I will withdraw as well. Only one person can live. It's almost a definite death for us. In just a short while, 8 cultivators withdrew from the trial. They did not have full confidence to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. If they failed, the only option they had was death. Risking their lives for a destiny was too horrifying. No one had the courage to face such a gamble with only a slight chance of survival. You all don't even have such little amount of courage. How can you all have the qualifications to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix? The scarlet figure looked in disappointment at the 8 people who withdrew. Courage? Is courage more important than our lives? One of the people who withdrew answered with a frown. However, the moment that person finished speaking, the scene before everyone's eyes shattered once again. Everyone was awakened. The cultivators who were previously crushed by the Divine Phoenix were standing at their original location, well and alive. It was as though the gruesome scene from before never appeared. Even the smell of blood that lingered in the air had disappeared without a trace in an instant. It's an illusion again, Yi Qingtang mumbled to herself. Everything that happened just now was probably another trial by Divine Phoenix. The Divine Phoenix intentionally let everyone watch the scene of the cultivators being crushed as a test of their courage and determination. The trials that the Divine Phoenix set were closely linked, and the illusions were extremely realistic. Even an illusion master was probably unable to distinguish illusion from reality. No one would suspect anything when encountering such a high-level illusion. Even Yi Qingtang thought that those cultivators were killed by the Divine Phoenix. Never had she thought that this was actually still an illusion cast by the Divine Phoenix. This is all thanks to Ling Yan, Yi Qingtang mumbled. If Ling Yan did not clearly tell her that she would definitely be able to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, she probably would have thought of withdrawing as well. This was not because Yi Qingtang was not courageous or determined enough. In this rebirth, she still had many unfinished things. If she died at this moment, what difference was there from her previous life? Having to meet death just because of the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, Yi Qingtang naturally had to weigh her options carefully. Moreover, the dimension wall of this mainland had already shattered. In no time, that mysterious ancient clan would arrive to collect that extraordinary lattice spiritual abode and destroy this entire mainland. The reason she required the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, and for coming to the Dragon Vein, was all to become more powerful and eventually fight against those outsiders. Before that, she must not gamble with her life. Once she lost the gamble, not only would she die, but everyone in Xianling's sect, Yi family, her father, and friends would all die as well. She could not take this gamble. This time, her life did not belong to herself. If she died, she would not be able to save many others. You all lack awareness, courage, and determination. The inheritance of the Divine Phoenix must not be given to you all. The Divine Phoenix looked disappointedly at the 8 cultivators who initiated to withdraw, and those who were not cautious, and shook its head. As the Divine Phoenix finished speaking, 10+ people were sent out of the land of inheritance and disappeared. The assessment will continue. The Divine Phoenix spoke. May I ask what assessment it is? Yin Yang Child asked curiously. Upon hearing that, the young man in black armor convulsed with laughter. Are you a fool? If the Divine Phoenix really told you, wouldn't you be prepared for it? Are you foolish, or did you treat Lord Divine Phoenix as a fool? What business is it of yours? Yin Yang Child said coldly as he looked at the youth in black armor. The youth in black armor was stunned. He was just about to speak when at the same moment, the Divine Phoenix said, "No matter. I'll tell you. The next test is lust." Lust. When they heard the Divine Phoenix's words, everyone exchanged glances. What did that mean? To be precise, it is temptation. Your temptation will be actively produced by what you have seen and heard, the Divine Phoenix said. Realization dawned after they heard the Divine Phoenix's words. Divine Phoenix, we will certainly be prepared now that you have revealed it. No matter how tempted we feel, we cannot possibly be moved, so what is the purpose of the next stage's test? A middle-aged man was puzzled. The Divine Phoenix had not given them any hints in the previous stages. Why was it suddenly being so agreeable now? They were not stupid, since they knew it was a test, and that the situation was obviously created by the Divine Phoenix. They would not fall into the trap. The Divine Phoenix only calmly shook its head in response to the middle-aged man's doubts. This time, I will strip you of your ability to think rationally. You will not think that it is a test. I want to observe your instincts. Strip them of their ability to think rationally? What did that mean? Could it be that the Divine Phoenix was so powerful it could control their thinking? Everyone was shocked, but they had no time for further consideration. As the Divine Phoenix spoke, complete silence fell on the valley. As they entered a trance, a dense fog descended. Yin Yang Child stood in the black fog. A delicate fragrance seemed to linger in his surroundings. Beside him stood a girl of stunning beauty. Her clothes were in disarray, and her eyes exuded tenderness. Yin Yang Child looked rather puzzled. He did not know where he was or what he was doing. His mind was blank and completely devoid of former memories. He looked at this girl of stunning beauty. He did not know where she had popped out from. "Come." A voice that was so soft it sank into his bones slowly rang out. The stunningly beautiful girl narrowed her lovely eyes slightly and waved at Yin Yang Child with her right hand. Her hand was so soft, it was almost boneless. This careless action seemed to contain all kinds of flirtatious expressions. Her fluid glances seemed to encompass all that was beautiful in this world. Yin Yang Child looked at the girl of unparalleled beauty before him. He was not moved at all. Instead, he frowned and shouted coldly, "Whose maid is this? Get lost, don't hold up my cultivation." Yin Yang Child did not know where he was or why he was here. Only the path of pursuing power he had always pursued remained buried deep in his heart. So what if he was faced with beauty? Yin Yang Child was only 13 or 14. What did he know of love between a man and a woman? He was intent only on hastening his cultivation and upgrading himself as fast as possible, so that he could press his sworn enemy, Black and White Holy Sun, to the ground and pound him with a hammer. At the same time, not just Yin Yang Child, but Black and White Holy Sun, the youth in black armor, absolute monarch of heaven, and the 20 over men and women present, including Yi Qingtang, were all in the same situation. They had all sunken into the same state. They had forgotten the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, forgotten the dragon vein, forgotten everything. The dense fog dissipated a little. A faint light shone. Yi Qingtang looked around. Before her was the interior of a dimly lit room. This was, before Yi Qingtang could think clearly. She suddenly sensed a trace of a strange aura coming from behind her. Chapter 922 Faced with Beauty 3. Yi Qingtang instinctively turned around. She was taken aback by what she saw. A handsome man with an icy expression and absolutely emotionless eyes was standing quietly within her line of sight. At a glance, Yi Qingtang recognized this man with a frosty cold demeanor. "Since you have nothing with which to repay me, you should marry me." Han Songming slowly extended his hand to Yi Qingtang. He spoke coldly as his icy cold gaze fell on Yi Qingtang. "Lord of the Antiquity Palace, Han Songming." Yi Qingtang's whole body shuddered when she saw this ferocious and cold man. How did she run into this fellow? Yi Qingtang's scalp prickled when she heard Han Kangming's familiar "marry me." Yi Qingtang almost instinctively turned to flee. She was terrified that Han Songming would see the heart of the demon god within her. Just as Yi Qingtang turned to leave swiftly, a voice suddenly rang out from behind her. "Miss Yi." Yi Qingtang paused, her foot just touching the threshold. The voice behind her was completely different from the previous icy one. Instead, it seemed to contain infinite tenderness. In a daze, Yi Qingtang turned slightly and looked behind her. This glance stunned Yi Qingtang. Han Songming, who had been standing behind her, had vanished. Instead, a man who was so handsome, he looked like he had walked out of painting, was standing there instead. He stood there quietly, and his extraordinarily clever eyes looked at her smilingly. "Ling Yan." Yi Qingtang stopped when she saw Ling Yan. Her expression showed a faint trace of bewilderment. "Yes, it's me." Ling Yan nodded. "What about Han Songming?" Yi Qingtang asked in surprise. She clearly remembered seeing the Lord of the Antiquities Palace. "Don't know." Ling Yan shook his head laughingly. He immediately extended his hand to Yi Qingtang and said, "Come." Yi Qingtang was rather puzzled, but she walked towards Ling Yan without thinking much about it. After all, she and Ling Yan were friends. "Where is this place? Why am I here?" "You. And why are you here?" Yi Qingtang's expression grew increasingly puzzled. She momentarily could not recall what had happened. Her mind seemed rather fuzzy. It was as if she wanted to think of something, but she could not recall anything. "Here." Ling Yan looked around him. "Of course, this is a place for newlyweds." Newlyweds? Yi Qingtang was stunned. She studied her surroundings again, and suddenly realized that the arrangements in the room had changed drastically. The originally dim room was now brightly lit with red candles. The interior was hung with bright red silks, turning the entire room into a sea of bright red. "You're married? Who did you marry?" "Congratulations." Yi Qingtang suddenly snapped out of her trance. She felt that something was amiss, but when she tried to pursue the thought, a voice in her mind seemed to tell her that this was the way things should be. Yi Qingtang immediately opened her space ring. Since it was Ling Yan's wedding day, of course, she had to congratulate him. She had originally thought of finding something in the space ring as a wedding present, but now, she realized that there was nothing in her space ring. "I'm sorry, I came here in a hurry and didn't bring a wedding present." Yi Qingtang lifted her eyes with an apologetic look. "You did bring one." The corners of Ling Yan's mouth turned up slightly. His half-smiling eyes slowly passed over Yi Qingtang's entire body. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."